Hey, everybody. Welcome to Comic Book Curation. I'm Polly, and joining me, as always, Inquisitor 8.1 Quiz. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's kind of an exhausting day, but we've got was it Good Friday off, so yeah, a long weekend for me.
Nice. And rounding out our triumvirate of awesome, as always, is Jack from Bad Comic Reviews. Link in the description. Jack, how the hell are you doing?
Yeah, I'm
Cool.
okay. Better than Quiz, apparently. He's having a tough one.
He is?
I don't know. Sound like it. Sounds tired.
Just because I'm tired doesn't mean that I'm not doing okay.
I don't know. Tired. Sleep is the enemy of humanity.
That's true.
Sleep is merely the cousin of death. It's different.
Yes,
See?
well, they may be closely related. I don't know. I don't want to die.
It was a hip-hop reference. You just don't know good lyrics. It's fine.
No, I don't know the hip-hops.
The rapists.
The hippin' and the hoppin' and the bippin' and the boppin'.
It's true.
It's a classic Nas lyric. Anyway, moving on.
What's a Nas?
Nasir Jones goes by Nas, one of the greatest MCs of all time.
Sounds like an alien termite of some kind.
Nas, it's this tank that you put into your car, and it injects in the fuel tank. It makes you go real fast.
Oh, that. Okay, it makes me giggle too.
Yes.
I only know it. I only know of the energy drink. It's fine.
It's the same thing.
I just know that the
You're-
Nas, if
wait a
you're in
minute.
space and you're having sex with a green alien, and she's like, just to let you know, I got the Nas. Don't touch her. She's got the space herpaderps.
All right, five guys with guitar music fans. It's not a problem. We'll just you.
I'm not even the one that said rapists. You were.
So we have been inundated since our Gwen cast last week about all things Gwendolyn Stacy related. Over on Monkey in the Morning, Jack and I haven't been able to get away from it. It's our own fault. We started this joke, and people in DMs have actually been like, "So you guys really going to do that as a comic book, a world of all Gwens?" And I'm like, "Well, I have no artistic talent, so."
And I'm lazy.
And Jack's lazy now, and I'm lazy as well. I can claim that. Now, while Inquisitor is lazy too, he's also the only one of us with any artistic talent. So push him to do it.
I'm not exactly lazy, but
Motivationally impaired.
Well, you know what? Jack is the writer. How about this? We collab. You write me the comic, I'll draw it.
Yeah, we'll see what we can come up with. We'll have to talk off air sometime about it.
Fuck yeah.
So what?
I'm perfectly fine with getting the work done too before we do something like an Indiegogo.
I don't think we could do an Indiegogo unless we want to get sued by Marvel.
Well, we just we have to change the names slightly, and I can tweak the drawings so they're not exactly.
Yeah, we'll parody it up, make it a parody.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the things that I thought about, like Quiz. You and I were talking in Discord about stuff along these lines. Like, it's kind of like, I wish I knew a lawyer who knew a lot about how trademarks work and in the trademark industry, like how cease and desist letters work. What is the extent of parody? How do you officially, well, not officially, but legally check all of the boxes you can that you are doing a piece of satire, even if it's like an, what do they call it, an ash can?
Yeah.
Like, even if you were doing an ash can and doing it really just to promote comic book curation and for a good laugh, and you're not really looking to get rich off of it, because that's not really what it's about. You're looking to cover all your costs and the labor involved in drawing it and shipping it. You know what I mean? It's not a profit venture as much as it is a satire venture. Screw you, Marvel. You guys have lost your talent.
Yeah.
I think we'd have to call that a Gwen can. As opposed to an ash can.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, oh man, I wish sometimes that I had had the foresight to record some of the conversations we've had. It directly relates to this week's thumbnail. For those of you who didn't see it on Twitter, what was I going to do? Not do Ghost Spider? Of course I was going to do Ghost Spider.
Especially after last week. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was the Gwen cast last week.
Yep.
And Jack and I had a conversation off stream where we were talking about how would we retool Ghost Spider, and I referenced this and looking at every artist's renditions of Ghost Spider, cosplays of Ghost Spider. Like, it just kind of re-cemented that idea. This character could absolutely be done well. It really seems like they just don't want to.
Well, you know how they could make Ghost Spider an interesting character?
Huh.
Not make her Spider-Gwen. Have
Well,
it be a completely different person.
You know what? We kind of touched on that, and I really think that there could be a lot made of that. You have Rachel Summers, who's one of my favorite characters in the Marvel Universe, and she could be seen as a ripoff of Jean Grey, but instead they incorporated into her character. The whole point is she doesn't know who the hell she is, and she personally feels like a cheap photocopy from the future, non-extant person. She doesn't feel like a real person because the future she comes from doesn't exist, and the people that are supposedly her parents in this alternate past don't even recognize her because they never had a daughter. You can incorporate that idea and make it like, I'm just one copy of many Gwens throughout the universe. What does that mean for me? Who the hell am I? Sort of thing.
No.
Yeah, you're so judgy, Quiz.
I am, because the whole point of her character, okay? The reason why Gwen Stacy as a character had to die was because it created a visceral emotional reaction in Peter Parker. Okay? All of that is now cheapened by the fact that she is now alive again. Doesn't matter if she's from a different universe. Doesn't matter if she's from a different sort of timeline. It removes the emotional gravitas of her death for Peter Parker.
I think it would have been more effective if she transformed into a goat and became Goat Spider, because her spider powers only worked in goat form.
Yes.
Well, that's sort of an odd take, but okay, I'll say this. There was over on Blind Press's channel, we were doing the Trek cast that we do, and we were talking about the last episode, the series finale of Voyager. In short, Captain Janeway from the future comes back to the present day that the series is based in, and from her perspective, 7 of 9 has been dead for 15, 20 years, and it was a tragic death that she was directly responsible for. All of a sudden, 7 of 9 walks in the room. The gravitas of that. Like she stands up with this like look of like, because for her, it's like a ghost just walked in the room. And she's like, hello, 7. And 7 of 9 looks at her like, what the fuck's your problem? Like, nothing's odd. It was a deep moment. It was really cool. So the fact that there is another character who exists from an alternate universe or from the future or from the past or whatever, and the fact that they're supposed to be dead doesn't remove the gravitas. You can play into it.
No, I don't think so. I don't.
For I am Quiz, and I am unpersuadable.
I have yet to, because I didn't know that was how Voyager ended. I have
future Janeway coming back. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I have never seen any piece of fiction to have done that trope and make it good. Just saying.
I think it's incredibly difficult to make it good. I'm not saying it can't be done, but yeah, you would have to keep her in a separate universe. Maybe where as Ghost Spider, Peter dies because of her inability to act, or she screwed something up. And that haunts her. You just reverse the situation. But by having her bouncing around mainstream books, it does diminish. Like, they keep doing that. They keep resurrecting people that have poignant deaths. Did that with Winter Soldier, Peter's parents, Gwen Stacy. Stop. Now, I see Quiz's point. They've already committed to the bit.
I see Quiz's point in the sense of it has all of the earmarks of we need a character, like a bunch of people sitting around in the Marvel executive offices. And of course I wasn't there, and this is a bit of satire. I'm not trying to pretend these people are actually this stupid, but I suspect they are.
Yeah.
Where it's well, we need a character that everybody knows is related to Spider-Man. Who's that? Well, I don't know. There's Mary Jane. There's Betty Brant. There's Gwen Stacy. There's Captain Stacy. There's J. Jonah Jameson. Well, we can't make J. Jonah Jameson a superhero. That's dumb. And besides, we already did it with Spider Slayer. And it's like, well, how about Gwen Stacy. Well, she's dead. So what? Like that level of conversation is what I think was going on. Is we just need somebody. Oh, well, now she's alternate universe Gwenpool. Oh, and Gwen Spider. And
Gwen Goblin.
well, it's funny you say that, because I honestly, when you guys said Gwen Goblin, thought you were fucking kidding. Until I was reading through Ghost Spider over the week, and Jesus Christ, there's Gwen Goblin right there. I thought you were kidding.
Look how trash that art is too.
Oh, it's pure garbage tier. It's awful. I mean, chat, look at this. The Gwen Goblin. It's a fucking thing.
It's the Gwen Goblin.
Yeah. And this is from Ghost Spider issue number 3, which is a crossover with the Spider-Geddon series. I just can't deal with it. It annoys me so much. Like, oh look, it's Gwen Goblin. She's
it's so funny. Hee hee.
Yeah. And like, the mask gets pulled off, and it's another Gwendolyn Stacy underneath it, because of course it is. Now, what I find, hold on here, one page I want to talk about. Yeah, here it is. Damn it. No, it isn't the page. Anyway, doesn't matter. The page, this comic is awful because it's written in the form that you would expect. You see word bubbles or thought bubbles that used to be a thing in comic books have gone away. Now you have nothing but narration bubbles. Well, what used to be narration bubbles from a third person omniscient, to use some literary language, perspective. It was like, in the summer streets of New York, Spider-Man swings through, wondering what's going to happen, when suddenly, without any warning, ellipsis, that's was the stereotypical purpose for narration bubbles. They were used in all kinds of ways, but they're always from a third person perspective. Not anymore. Those are gone. Jack, can you even remember the last time you saw one of those in a new comic? I actually can't.
It's been a long time.
I'm sure they're out there somewhere. The fact that I can't even recall the last time I saw one. Now, so that aspect of storytelling and sequential art is gone. And they've been replaced with the square bubbles are now the internal monologue of the character, which is, there are so few Gwen Stacys in the universe. Most of us die too young. Feels weird to be fighting one. Yeah, this used to be thought bubbles, because that would be her internal monologue, right?
Yeah, now they all just talk out loud like a bunch of serial killers. Correct.
And I find that odd. And we've actually got an article that kind of touches on that this week. But God, look at that art, Jack. Look at the forced perspective on it. Like, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen.
Ugh, trash.
I mean, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but there's so many good artists out there that I've seen, literally on DeviantArt, sometimes even in web comics. How is it that these people are getting jobs contracts rather, at the big two? DC and Marvel, I mean, and I don't get it. So anyway, my primary problem with this story is not that it's just Gwen Goblin, although that's bad. It's what happens in the story, which is not very much. You get Gwen Stacy as Ghost Spider, who has the power of slipping from universe to universe, from parallel universe to parallel universe. And she's the only spider character in the entire multi-universe who has that power. Okay. No, this isn't what we do. We're Gwen Stacy. We don't give up. We never give up. We are so much better than this. You're so much stronger than this. No Gwen Stacy anywhere in any reality gives up.
See, this is the reason why the parody would work.
Yeah.
All right.
Because it's pure self-affirmation for the writer. Like, this sounds like a daily affirmation that somebody who buys into new age stuff would say every morning. I never give up. No one is like me who's ever,
wearing a pyramid hat and holding on to some crystals and
right. It's just out of place. Like, she's just kind of saying it out of nowhere. Like, on the previous page, she kind of talks about there's so few Gwen Stacys in the multiverse, and she would know because she can flip from universe to universe. And it's like, we never give up. We never what? I don't know. I just consider it poor writing. I don't. Anyway.
I think the concept is fundamentally flawed because of the choice of character. It is. And while you were sitting there talking about, did you see thought balloons or narration? Third person omniscient narration in comics. My pitch tonight is from 1988, and there is not a single thought piece or thought balloon or third person omniscient.
No.
Nope. It's all dialogue.
So you found the outlier as an example of what?
I'm just saying it's. It would say, when was the last time you saw? I found something from 1988 that didn't have any fucking.
Shit. What was the DC comic that did the complete story with no words at all?
DC?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was DC. We were talking about it like, I don't know, 5-6 months ago, where the whole thing was an experiment in sequential storytelling, whether you could do it with no words, no dialogue, no narration.
I don't remember DC doing that, but I know G.I. Joe did it.
Did they?
Yeah, G.I. Joe silent option. It was issue 21. And then they did it again in yearbook 3, because I pitched those, where there were no dialogue bubbles at all.
Huh.
But I'm sure other people have experimented with it, but I couldn't name them off the top of my head.
As if Peter's in chat. Hey, Peter. As if in seeming synchronicity with what's going on this week. Here's an article in CBR. When did word balloons and thought balloons debut in comics? And it's a CBR exclusive again. And again, why?
They're the only ones asking that question.
I mean, I guess, but it's exclusive because it's on your website. Yeah, we know it's on your website. Look, cbr.com. It's also in the URL. What? I don't know. It just strikes me as excessively garbage here to do something like that. And what I found funny, and I was talking to these guys about it before we went live, the question should be, when did thought balloons disappear from comics? That's the actual poignant question.
Yeah,
I know a lot of times in the 90s it was fading out of favor.
I actually have the issue. Larry Hama's G.I. Joe series, issue number 21, Silent Interlude.
Ooh, I win again.
Yeah.
So let's see what this article does have to say. I actually haven't read this one. When we first met, we spotlight the various characters, phrases, and objects that blah, blah, blah. Anyway, what we now think of as word balloons probably owe their origins to 15th century paintings and drawings that had I guess what you would call a speech band.
No, you gotta say it like this. That had what I guess you would call
yeah.
That had
Jesus Christ, that does work.
Yeah, it's somebody writing how they talk.
Yeah.
Remember when we were just talking about this quiz that it's like, what is with the constant self-referentials in garbage tier articles?
Yeah.
Stop using I.
Yeah. If you claim to be a journalist, you should never ever use I. You should never refer to yourself.
Use the royal we.
Well,
we have decided.
It's you know what's funny about that is that I went on to say, because I'll own it. Unlike these people who refuse to own their words, when they can't say I, they will use weasel words that mean I. It has often been said that. One can often hear the opinion that. In other words, it's your opinion or it's what you said. You just don't want to say it. Anyway, what we think of were 15th century speech bands, the sort of tapestries with words on them. I think you would just call those labels, not speech bands.
Are you not entertained? Good one, Functional.
These are courtesy of some amazing research by the great historian about classic cartoons and comic strips, Andy Conkey Crew. From 1404, here's Conrad Voice, Alter at Bad Wellington. I don't know. This looks kind of religious.
Well, there's nothing saying that that's Christ. I mean, lots of people got stabbed by a dude named Longinus.
Really?
And then he became saint.
Between two other guys, and then like with people with halos
It's
around
fine.
them.
It's fine.
Okay.
That was a trend. People wore plates on their head. It's cool. It was a whole thing back then.
Yeah, I read about that. The plates on the head. We
Yeah.
should probably ignore the side wound and the crown of thorns and just move on.
Yeah,
It's
fine.
It was a fashion statement more than anything.
It's purely secular.
Hey, this is cool. That just screams like medieval England, doesn't it?
Yeah, looks all plague timesy.
It does. It does. Is this supposed? Let's interpret it SJW style. Here's the intersectional feminist fighting against the evils of white male Christian patriarchy.
Yes, see, he's skeletal because his identity has been withered away by wrong pronoun use.
Welcome to the Black Pill Cast.
Frosted Glass pointed out Jesus was resurrected. Gwen was resurrected. Coincidence?
I would say I responded to you on Twitter, Frosted Glass. I would unironically buy a spider-gwen crucifix. Just saying.
Yeah, there's some right proper speech balloons in these political cartoons they identify from the 18th century. I mean, 1749. Look at that. Those are just straight up word balloons. No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Even back then, they could draw better than Marvel can now.
Word. Absolutely.
What are you talking about?
Jim Hewlett says Gweezus. Wow.
Yeah, she does hip hop too, because it's like Jesus and Jesus.
There you go.
Jesus, that's what the reference was.
I don't know. I don't understand hip hop.
Okay.
Actually, this is an interesting article. Far more interesting than you would expect CBR to be. I'm assuming that all of these examples are pulled out of
Wikipedia, probably.
No, these are courtesy of some amazing research and great by the great historian about classic cartoons and cartoon strips, Andy Conkey Crew, who deserves the cred for this. Get that. The entire article's based on this guy's work, but it's a CBR exclusive.
Well, they swiped most of that work exclusively.
Right. No, but it actually seems like a fairly interesting article, like in terms of the coverage of this guy's work. Like, yeah, he threw up a bunch of great examples and now it changed over time. That's interesting.
Say Cynical Lindsay says, of course you would, Quiz. Are you going to carry your special Gwen crucifix when you go see America Chavez? Abso-fucking-lutely.
It's called a crucifix.
That's a stretch.
Well, Stacy Fix sounded weird.
In the name of the Spider, the Gwen, and the Holy Goblin.
For God's sake, guys, it's Holy Week. Jesus.
I don't know. You're the one that just took the Lord's name in vain, not us.
All right. What did we want to move on to here? Had a couple of things that I want, because we did the Gwen thing that I wanted to start out with. That's right.
Yeah.
And then one of the main issues, but that's going to take us a while to go through it. How about? Oh, I know what I wanted to touch on really quick.
Boobies.
Who doesn't?
Well, I showed the thumbnail. We already talked about that. Seriously, I doesn't want to touch on that. I mean, come on. Anyway.
I will not be swayed from my opinion by your boobs and butt.
I'm not going to comment because she's like 15 or 16 or something.
No. She's a high school senior, which means she's 18. Stop.
Ish.
Stop. 18. It's fine. Okay, so this tweet that I wanted to talk about that Umbrella Guy sent out. As I'm sure we can all, I'm sure I can speak for the group when we say that Umbrella Guy is awesome. He runs a great channel. If you don't know of it already, you should absolutely go check it out. We were very happy to have him on for our 300 subscriber special. It was awesome of him to come on a super microscopic channel and hang out with us for that special.
Okay.
Yeah, it really was. Like, that's how you know how laid back Tugg is. Which reminds me, by the way, I'm finally going to say it instead of at the end. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. It absolutely does help. And if you're listening in the future, by all means, leave comments below. I get a chance to read them all, and I love hearing from you guys, and I get a chance to respond to most of them. So please do so. And if you're enjoying what you're listening to, please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. With that said, Umbrella Guy is in the middle of a whole bunch of really undeserved crap right now.
Yeah.
So's Yellow Flash, but Tugg's catching it particularly hard. He sent out this tweet. Today, I'm dumping all of my older tweets, birthdays with my kids starting at 3 years old, fond memories, friends, because of targeting of a 5-year-old. He's referring to his daughter. Those lovely weird beards are mass flagging tweets, all because I made a comic and didn't ask permission. Fund better pros. Yeah. There's a bunch of context going on behind that tweet. Tugg started a Indiegogo comic. Here it is. The Case of the Littlest Umbrella. And if you ever listen to his live streams, which he does daily, around 5 Central Time, I believe is when they start. His daughter always comes on, and people call her Little Brella, all these funny names, and she's adorable as hell, and she tells these stories off the top of her head. She's so imaginative. It's great. Anyway, Tugg himself is really into Lovecraftian fiction, and he wanted to write a children's comic book, an all ages comic book rather. And he figured out a way to write a Lovecraftian all ages comic book starring with his sidekick, the Littlest Umbrella. Yeah, it's adorable. And
I'll believe it when I see it, Tugg, but I definitely do want to get this comic. Lovecraftian by its very nature, I don't think is very much all ages, but like I said,
well, as I have understood the idea, it's like, you can't, for anyone who knows Lovecraft, you can't think about any one of the old ones, Cthulhu, what have you, without going mad. Just the sheer contemplation of them will drive you crazy. But that's not the case with kids, because their minds are more malleable and they just don't see the world that way. That's what I understand. He's incorporated in part of it, which is pretty clever. If that's correct, if that's actually the story that's going on. But yeah, you've seen pages, like if you looked at, he showed a number of them on Ethan Van Sciver's stream that he was a guest on when he was talking about the comic book. It just looks like fun. It just looks like a goddamn fun comic, and the art, as you can see, looks fantastic. Man, did he catch hell for this? For what is the question? For launching a comic book? Yes. Because he is a comic skater. He talks about how the industry is going in directions he doesn't like, how social justice being incorporated into comics for years now, like 3-4 years now, is really gone over the top. How replacement of mainline characters with more socially justice acceptable characters, et cetera, all the things we talk about that are comicsgate things. So he's developed a lot of enemies online, and they've gone as far as Jack, like what? Like talking about bringing in child protective services and shit. Yeah.
They were trying to dox his kid. Excuse me. And then they were talking about calling CPS because she must be abused. All this. It's pretty crazy talk. That it's type of stuff that you really don't want to mess with someone's kid like that. It's incredibly poor form, and it's a little psychotic.
Well, whatever happened to just disagreeing with people and discussing their disagreements? Why did it have to get to this shit?
Or whatever happened to disagreements and deciding, man, fuck them. And you know what? I'm sending out a tweet, fuck you. And then leaving it, and then there you go. Like, it doesn't need to be like a pleasant or civil. Like, I mean, why don't you go fuck yourself, cocksucker? Like, and then whatever, right? Yeah. But no, I need to find out where this person lives and try and get them fired. Somebody called his work and said that he was on the part of an online hate group, which happened like 6 months ago or whatever.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where he had to go in on his week off and explain to his bosses what this means, that he's part of a so-called online hate group. Jesus Christ. And now going after his 5-year-old daughter. I mean, what the fuck? Like, be spicy, all these other things. But then when you get into the realms of trying to get people fired, doxing them, bringing family into it, not just kids, but like, I'm going to find out who your siblings are and your parents and your children and I'm swatting. That's an idea. It's like, man, you've spread into sociopathy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in any case, that's what Tugg was referring to here when he says he's dumping all of his older tweets, birthdays with his kid, starting at 3, fond memories, etc., because they're targeting a 5-year-old and mass flagging tweets and so on, all because I made a comic book and didn't ask permission, i.e. permission from the establishment, I guess, that sort of thing. But as you can tell, they're probably not very happy because it's at $40,000, 862 backers, and there's still 22 days left on the comic book, or on the campaign, rather.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty awesome. So
yeah. He'll probably hit 50 grand because of the controversy. Because nobody likes watching some kid get messed with like that. That's just evil, man. Going after someone's kid.
And certain blue orcas online, amongst others.
No, we already agreed the name is Shamblu.
Right. That's true. Shamblu, who has her own particular following on Twitter. Now he's going to use this, his false claim that somebody was suggesting CPS and get involved, Child Protective Services, and so on, as an attempt at victimization to promote his YouTube page and to promote his comic book and so forth. And it's like, but it's not like it's something that didn't happen. Like, I'm not even going to attempt to speak for Tugg on this. I'm just going to kind of talk in and around it. But I don't know. He did mention it. And as you said, Jack, is probably going to push it over 50 grand. I mean, okay, but I don't see that. For it to be a valid form of criticism, one would think that it would had to have been planned. If that makes sense.
Yeah. There had to have been some sort of coordination effort involved, but I don't think that it was. The fact that he's getting more subscribers because the Blue Orca, Shamblu, was being a shitty person, and all of her little cronies were also being shitty people, does not mean that he.
Does not mean that he what? I'm sorry, you cut out for me.
Yeah, you cut out.
Think he's as sociopathic as these people that are going after his daughter.
Yeah. Well, why even care about what some of these people are doing? Well, yeah, there is an idea of mute Shamblu and so forth. Just ignore them and let them die. And I think there's a fuck ton of validity to that. But not interacting with them, in my opinion, is not the same as ignoring what they're doing, because it's not like they don't have official support for what they're doing.
Yeah, considering Shane
SJW, Spider-Man, amongst others, are seen as good. You guys stay in the trenches. You do the dirty work, and we'll be proud of you and support you.
Well,
and the reason why I think that's wrong is you have a lot of creators who, like, I mean, let me think of somebody who didn't catch it. Like, okay, what if Shamblu decided to focus in on Jim Healis? Oh, he's fetishizing a lesbian relationship for the sheer sake of blah, 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 blah. Imagine all the crap she could have come up with.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine the negative press that would have come around it. It might have turned out like as a Streisand effect, like meaning he would have done better, or it could have identified him as one of them damn alt-righters.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want any one of them taking note of my microscopic little channel here, much less the show that we do, because it's just like, I don't need it. And people would say, well, then why are you talking about them? I don't know, because this is an issue that's going on. It would seem like ignoring it. People ask me what you think about this.
I would venture that on YouTube at least, I hold the microphone, Renfamous. You don't. Okay. At this point, I am speaking to you. If you ever hear this, you have no principles. You have nothing to stand up for. You think that you might be doing something good. Your altruism is fake. Go to hell.
But I mean, did she ever claim to be altruistic? It's an online fight, right? It's 280 character culture, which means, in my opinion, like the way that I mean it, is it doesn't matter if you can substantiate your higher moral ground so long as you can claim it effectively for 280 characters at a time.
Yeah.
I mean, Zach, in their mind, like your boy Zach, Richard C. Meyer, is impugned beyond repair in those circles, because all that ever needs to get said is he called so-and-so a cum dumpster. That's it. There you go. One time it happened, bring it up. Oh yeah, the guy who, like, Tugg is the guy who endangers children and rips off Capcom's intellectual property in the form of the Umbrella, which is from help me out, guys.
Resident Evil.
Thank you. Is the Umbrella Corporation from Resident Evil, which, as I understand, that part of the intellectual property is owned by Capcom. So they're attempting to get him in that way. And actually, as a quick side note, other people have raised the suspicion, and it immediately occurred to me as well, that going after this guy's comic as being an attempt to monetize hate, child endangerment, or whatever word you want to use, whatever phrasing you want to use around that, and the Capcom thing, all came at the same time and all happened at the same time amongst a bunch of users. Now, is that an act of cosmic synchronicity? Is that a coincidence? No. Or are they all part of a private group on Facebook or wherever the fuck and came up with these ideas and said, go?
That's exactly what I was going to suggest. There's probably a Facebook group dedicated to that sort of thing with them.
Yeah, I've heard they have like Google Hangouts too.
What I wouldn't give to be a fly on the wall for that sort of thing. Just to hear the mental gymnastics involved with justification of their reprehensible behavior.
Yeah. Well, I imagine it would just be infuriating, and I would probably just get angrier than I already am.
Well, and you know, the other thing is that somebody asked me that. It's like, if you want to avoid this stuff, why talk about it? If you end up avoiding everything that's contentious or controversial or whatever, you're going to end up saying very little indeed, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And in Vortex just said, we talk about it because it affects us. Yeah. It affects the comics that I love. It affects the things that I read. I don't own these things, like the notion of sequential art in a codex form. Like, I don't own that. But social justice people talk as if they do, don't they?
Yeah. It's all theirs, Polly.
You know, well, comics have always been political. So therefore, what you define as fitting in the category of political has always been comics. Therefore, you're justified in Riri Williams. Like the jumps from point to point to point. It's like, what?
I don't have to make sense. They just want to be able to say that they control it, because
I've never said the fact that these people shouldn't make things like Riri Williams or Spider-Gwen. I'm just saying that I personally hate it. There you go. There's where it is. Okay.
I'm
not saying stop it. I'm not saying stop it at all. I'm just saying I ain't gonna fucking buy it. And I'll tell you why I'm not gonna fucking buy it. Because I don't like it. And I'll tell you why I don't like it. Right?
Patriarchy.
That does not make me a Nazi.
No, it makes you a misogynist and a racist.
Oh.
Yeah.
And a Nazi.
And possibly a Nazi. We didn't say a Nazi. Well, Jim brings up that the new Ironheart is actually entertaining. One thing that I will say for the character.
Sorry, Jim. Doubt.
Well, I you know what? I haven't read Riri in months, so I can't say one way or another. The new Ironheart series, I haven't read anything from it. But based on what Jim says, yeah, I'll fucking read it and find out what's what. I mean, after all, I read Ghost Spider. All the issues that are out now, I've read. and I didn't like it, but I came away thinking there's a lot of potential with this character. So it's not like I can't be persuaded. I'm not like fucking Quiz over there. I
You want to know the sickening truth, Polly? I think America Chavez has potential.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what you can say for these characters? Sorry, I got off topic there, but Riri Williams is an original character. Like in the sense that it's not a replacement of well, it is kind of a replacement of a character, but at least she's original unto herself. It's not taking Steve Rogers and suddenly having him as a mouthpiece for things that he was never a mouthpiece for before. You know, suddenly changing his character a lot. Captain of Nothing, that storyline by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Hey, he's smothered in awards, Jack.
Yeah. He probably gave him all those to himself.
And he's got so much history in writing fiction.
I think the last comic book author that deserves all of the awards that he got was Bill Willingham.
Yeah, I get behind that.
What Jim was saying that it's pretty good. I think that any writer with an original property can come in and if they're worth their contract, be creative. I mean, it's sort of what you're getting paid for, isn't it? And take it in an interesting direction. I have no doubt that Riri Williams can be written interestingly, as Ghost Spider can be. And I'm just claiming that Ghost Spider is not being written interestingly, and I'd like to see what they're doing with Riri. Jen said, "I deserve a GLAAD award." Well, I remember one of the statements that stuck with me is when you said her and Echo. It's I wanted them to be like the old married couple. I mean, it's anything but fetishization. But Jim, you are a straight white cis male, so you have no business writing those characters. Come on. Right. It doesn't matter how good your intentions were or how good the outcome was.
I've never gotten that line of logic, dude. Like when Scarlett Johansson lost her role to play a trans man in that movie, and pretty much making the movie DOA. How full of yourself do you have to be to say that nobody other than trans people can play trans people?
Well,
but very narcissistic.
The logical extension of that is we can never have a movie about aliens because we have no aliens to play the aliens.
Yeah, right.
We only have reptilians from the center of the earth, and we don't want to make a movie about them.
Yeah, they'll activate their assets in the Illuminati.
Exactly.
I think we've pounded on this point far and long away enough. And since we have some other black pills, I heard that.
No, you did. You heard nothing.
That's something that we need on the soundboard. The thumping porn music.
Yeah.
And since we got some other black pilled-ish stuff and then some other plain old entertaining stuff, let's go to something that's just newsworthy. Spider-Man Far From Home release date changed. When I saw this, I thought right away, oh my God, they're pushing it back. No, they're pushing it ahead. Spider-Man Far From Home has changed its original release date and will hit theaters a couple of days early. The film starring Tom Holland and Jake Gyllenhaal was originally scheduled to be released on July 5th, but has been moved up to July 2nd. Any postulation there, gentlemen? A leaked copy might potentially be out there, a working print, and so they're trying to get it. Anything?
How did that? How is the story going to work anyway? Isn't Spider-Man dusted?
Well, that movie comes out in April, where everybody's going to come back, so the new movie's going to be fine when it hits theaters.
Huh. We'll see what Bounding here has to say about this. It's more than likely that the film's release date was changed in order to capture the 4th of July audience that might be taking that week off to celebrate Independence Day. Woo! Independence Day. Not only is the release date moving forward an attempt to get more people into the theaters, but it also expands the movie's opening weekend reach. God damn. Monday is the weekend.
Could you say the dates again? Some people in chat missed it.
It will be opening. Hold on, let me scroll back up. Sorry. It was scheduled to be released on July 5th, but it's been moved up to July 2nd. So it is now being released on July 2nd.
Now, see, I thought they would have pushed the movie release date back so that they could insert more Zendaya.
Shh.
Zendaya.
Okay.
Maybe give her an outfit of her own. And
well,
then they
hold on.
call her,
Speaking of Zendaya, the next story I have directly relates.
Oh, no.
Yes. It is in a good way. So hold on. The audience that might be taking that week off to celebrate Independence Day. By the way, does anybody know what date Independence Day should actually be celebrated on? History trivia.
Do I care?
Well, you should. I don't know. Should anyone care about trivia? It's sort of in the name, trivia, trivial. No, you shouldn't. Really
I don't know about that. I just heard all that jingoistic flag waving over there, Mr. America. God, we're a part of a global community here, Polly.
Jesus Christ.
It should have been July 2nd.
Why?
It's the day the Continental Congress actually voted for independence.
Did you look it up?
No.
You motherfucker.
do I need to pull an Amanda Waller from Assault on Arkham? No, I have Google.
All right, then. You should know who proposed the motion that they passed on the afternoon of July 2nd.
Ron Jeremy.
No.
Wasn't that Sam Adams?
No.
No?
Richard Henry Lee of Virginia. I didn't need no damn Google.
His name was Dick Lee.
All right. So, yes, his name was Dick Lee. I've never.
That would have been a rough one to live with.
I've never thought of it that way before, but yes, his name was in fact Dick Lee. Yes, it was a proposal that that these colonies are of right and ought to be free and independent states, of which they voted in the affirmative. Except for one state, colony that what do you call it? Shit, word slipped my mind. Abstained. It was 12 yay, 0 nay, and 1 abstention.
And who was the abstainer?
New York.
I kind of
Figures.
Well, they needed another couple of their delegates. They needed a couple of other. They needed a couple of days to get word. Their delegation to get word from their leadership in New York. Keep in mind, New York at this time was completely held by the British. The entirety of New York Harbor is full of British ships. So saying, we're declaring independence, well, they're staring right down your throat with an army and a navy there. So
that sounds like an excuse more than a reason.
Yes.
Oh, the British are holding it. Shut up, you Nancy's. Get your crap together.
Well, apparently Johnny Hellcat says the answer is who gives a shit. So let's move on. Not only is the release date moving forward to give more people an attempt to get into theaters, but it also expands the movie's opening weekend reach. The ticket sales from Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday will more than likely be included in the film's opening weekend.
That doesn't say much about your hopes, though, does it?
Well, that's fuckery.
No, this is going to be the movie where Spider-Man is saved by the thoughtful and daring Zendaya.
Well, don't you think that's like, I just cracked a joke that the weekend begins on Monday to try, because they include often, they meaning movie theaters and movie theater chains and the studios, they include midnight showings on Thursday as well as sneak peek showings, and then everything from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, sometimes the Monday following as well, and they call that opening weekend because the opening weekend is so important to modern films. They got to make that money right away. They've pushed it all the way back to Tuesday. I was kidding with the previous Monday being included. It's not far off.
Well, they got to bank all that money. It looked good.
Yeah. So anyway, not only will the film Spider-Man Far From Home will be the first Marvel Cinematic Universe following Avengers Endgame. It's unclear if this change in date is to potentially account for a slump following the film that is literally titled Endgame. Yeah, I see your point.
I'd be willing to bet they did this as a nervous move because they're worried that people are going to be upset about Captain Marvel Mary suing Thanos in this one.
Maybe.
So they don't want another Solo going on where people are like, oh yeah, Last Jedi, screw you.
Not only will the film introduce Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio, that I'm really looking forward to seeing. I am not a big Jake Gyllenhaal fan at all, but I don't know. Cool. Let's see what he can do as Mysterio. I love Mysterio as a villain, so
I think he did a fairly good job as Cobra Commander.
I've never seen either of those films. You know? The G.I. Joe ones?
Yeah.
Second one was good.
First one was okay.
It was stupid. If you were like 13 when you saw it, okay, then it would be good. But
I was in my 20s. It's very comic booky, unabashedly so.
It's if it didn't have a Wayne's brother in there, it probably would have been better.
I'll say this: the Wayne's brother was the weakest part of that movie.
Yeah.
So but the film also featured Samuel L. Jackson, crazy Scientologist, as Nick Fury, Jon Favreau as Happy Hogan, and Colby Smulders as Maria Hill. I didn't realize that from the trailer. It just looked like it was Zendaya and Peter off on a European adventure together. Were they even in there?
I don't know.
Maria Hill, Nick Fury, or Happy? No, Happy. I did see him in the trailer. But I don't think I saw Nick Fury or Agent Maria Hill. But that's cool. That's good news. The film will see Spider-Man get recruited by Nick Fury as he takes on a number of what appear to be elemental-based monsters throughout Europe. What do you think? You excited?
For me to poop on? Not really.
You're excited in advance to poop on it?
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
I asked why, and you answered yes?
Yes. I have no excuse. It's a reference to Triumph, the insult comic dog.
Oh.
You don't know who that is, do you?
And I say, yeah, I got it wrong.
Right.
People were talking about Jake Gyllenhaal. No, it was Gordon Levitt. That was Cobra Commander. I get them confused between.
Man, that guy was in all the movies for a hot minute, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Good God.
He should fight Muslim rape gangs instead. I can't deal with you right now, Mysterio. I got a real problem over here.
Jesus Christ. Well, there is one line that I left out of this story that I was not aware of. And I don't know how I was left unaware up until now, but I was. But I was happy. Here it is. It will also see the return of Zendaya as Michelle, not MJ Jones, Marissa Tomei as May Parker, Michael Keaton as Adrian Toombs, awesome, Jacob Batalon as Ned, and Laura Harrier as Liz. Okay, well, fuck y'all. I'm excited.
Yeah, well, I'll be more excited when I watch the movie and Jason Momoa's plowing her, and then I'll be like, "Ha ha! My theory's right."
So, shut up. So I needed to verify this. And I did. Laura Harrier's Liz Allen returning for Spider-Man Far From Home. Woo! Let me hear it from the back.
The new J. Jonah Jameson played by Jason Momoa.
So let me see if I got this right. J. Jonah Jameson, the elderly newspaper publisher, is going to be plowing the just out of high school girl.
Yes, yeah. Because he's Jason Momoa. And he'll have a cigar in his mouth going, "Damn you, Spider-Man." And then he'll wink at the camera and be like, "And Polydub."
Like, apparently it's a small role, but the fact that they didn't cut her out of it completely, like when you've got Zendaya next, I mean, imagine this foxy creature staring at you like that. Oh my God. Hell yeah. I'm just saying. One woman is objectively more pretty than the other. I'm just saying. And either one of them have like a relative level of acting. I mean, the roles that I've seen both of them in, neither of them are stellar actors, but both of them seem competent. So, on that basis, how shall we decide? Well, one can look at you like this, where the other one just gives you a deadpan look of, "You must love me, for I have one name. I am Zendaya.
I have a name of a perfume. I am social justice, Zendaya."
So yeah, I've got all the more reason to go see this film now. I wanted to see it too. I don't know.
You missed a golden opportunity there, Jack.
I know.
Zendaya, the scent of social justice.
I thought of that after I said it, and it was too late. There was no going back.
And well, there's another reason, right? You got Liz Allen, who's like foxy girl at school. She's smart. Peter thinks that she's out of his league. And then you got the other girl who's a miserable bitch and never stops complaining about all the racism, homophobia, sexism, xenophobia going on in the world.
You know that miserable bitch puts out. That's why she's in everybody's league. And as Grisella said, if she was looking at me like that, I'd say, ID, please.
So in your mind, Zendaya puts out a lot.
Yeah, she looks like the trashy hippie whore that is going to be like, I hate the patriarchy so much, I'm going to bang a bunch of dudes and tell my dad about it because I hate him because he never hugged me. And I also blame Mark Ruffalo, Mike Parletti. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Mike Parlett. Okay, I'll admit it. I heard a rumor. It was an ugly rumor. I don't repeat it.
Did they say you have a broken heart?
No.
Oh.
Well, Laura Harrier hasn't called yet. But so in any case, I heard a rumor out there, and I did go look into it, and apparently it's true, but I'm not going to be dour on our own comic book stream. Apparently, Mark Ruffalo is going to be starring in this Disney Plus bullshit. He's going to be Bruce Banner or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought he was going to be Bruce Banner again for the direct to stream service She-Hulk series that they were talking about.
Yeah, that's the thing. And apparently it's verified, and it's like, you know what? I really wish they would have fired him, but then the option between feature films and direct to streaming for Disney's, in my opinion, ill-fated streaming service, yeah, that's where he belongs. If he doesn't belong like living under a bridge, wondering about maybe I shouldn't have shot my mouth off repeatedly as a self-righteous, higher, holier than thou, moral know-it-all. Maybe I should have just been happy I was getting great roles and continued to play the character as I did in the first Avengers film, where you actually weren't a miserable, whiny son of a bitch. Anyway, he belongs on streaming, if not under the bridge, not in feature films. So I'm okay with that.
I'm now picturing Mark Ruffalo as a hobo eating granola bars that are slightly chewed on while shaving his chest underneath a bridge, swapping stories for sponge baths with other hobos.
I don't wish poverty on people lightly. It's like, I wish that guy was living under a bridge. You know why I targeted people like Mark Ruffalo with it? Because
he's a pretentious douche.
Yes, because they talk as part of an elite that they belong to and are destined to be with, if that makes sense. It's like, oh, finally, and I'm at home with like-minded people where I can speak about things that I have barely any understanding of. I will talk widely and broadly about politics, even though I don't bother to look into them. I just hate the things that I hate. Dude, on that basis, fuck you.
Damn, Polly, why didn't you just wish that he had been the one murdered instead of his brother?
His brother was murdered?
Yeah, you didn't know that? It's an unsolved case.
Oh, jeez.
You think he would care more about,
Ooh, careful, buddy.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I have read of this story before, and you think that this would be a major thing that would promote him into a certain kind of activism, perhaps, as opposed to talking about the environment and phantom Nazis.
Yeah, you would think it would channel that kind of motivation in a specific direction. And maybe this screwed him up. I don't know.
Well, Faithless actually asks a question. It's like, Harrier was 27 playing a high school senior. Yeah, I hear you. And especially because after the film came out, I was like, yo, who is that girl playing Liz? Did you see her? And it was like, dude, she's in high school. And I'm like, no, I looked up who it is. It's Laura Harrier. And she certainly didn't look like a high schooler. She looked like a full grown woman. playing a high schooler. I didn't think she was.
Check ID, man.
Well, I looked her up and like, who is that? Her name's Laura Harrier, apparently, and she's 27 years old. And people are like, yeah, but she's playing a high schooler, and it's like, oh man, calm the fuck down. I mean, I think Tom Holland is like, what's he? Isn't he 25?
I don't know. It's like the cast of 90210 back in the day. They were all in like their 30s and shit. Seriously, the one chick that played the reporter, she was like 33 in that show. She was like a 17-year-old character, but the actress was in her 30s. It's weird.
Wow. I mean, that's pretty far off, yeah. Well, in any case, there's the I think I've left that story up long enough.
You just want to look at that picture of Laura Harrier.
I might.
Picture Mimosa behind her caressing her shoulders like Joe Biden does. You know,
giving her the Biden treatment. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like looking at you, and in his eyeballs, you can see a reflection of your logo. That'll haunt you tonight.
No, it won't. I wanted to point something out here real quick. Jane Foster confirmed as Valkyrie for new series by Jason Aaron, Al Ewing, and Cafu. Spoilers. This is racist. Tessa Thompson who's a black woman and beautiful woman at that, plays Valkyrie in Thor Ragnarok. She's a white woman here. This is racist. This is whitewashing. Just putting that out there.
Well, Valkyrie was the hot blonde chick for the longest time. What'd they do to her? Where's she at?
Yeah, I know.
But I guess at least she's not Thor again.
Yeah, I'm actually curious, like, because it is called Jane Foster Valkyrie, this series, and I do kind of want to read it because it's like, what are they doing with this sort of idea?
Didn't Jane Foster have some sort of like terminal illness, and that's the reason why she took up Thor's hammer, because it was gonna like stop killing her or something, or like prolong her life a little bit longer or something?
Jack?
Yeah, she had terminal cancer, but she got better. And every time she turned into Thor, she would it would negate the chemo. So she was getting worse. But she got better. They just kind of like, yeah, people hated this. Let's just move on.
I'm gonna get better from my terminal cancer. I read it in a comic book.
Yeah, they just kind of glossed over it from what I could tell. I haven't been reading the new Thor series because the art is hideous in it.
Yeah, this is a continuation of the War of the Realms, actually. So we'll see. This Jane Foster Valkyrie is a continuation of the War of the Realms.
Oh, lovely. They're milking that for all they can. Hi, Pop-Tart.
Hey, Pop-Tart.
Yeah, they're really trying to make that War of the Realms like a big deal, but it's the same thing they did with Civil War back in like 2006. They got all these peripheral titles, and then it bleeds into a bunch of the mainstream books, so that there's gonna be like 2 or 3 issue story arcs, and then they're gonna have spin-off titles afterward that won't sell because they're not gonna put their best people on it. I mean, granted, Aaron's working on this, but I don't know.
I mean, it's not like he's not untried, or is untried, I mean to say. I'm going to read it. I'm going to check it out. Because, I don't know, I like the Marvel cosmic stuff, what's going on Mount Olympus, or in the throughout the realms over in Asgard. I love those sort of like high concept stories. Why not? So I'm curious to see what they're going to do here. What struck me as odd is it's Jane Foster as Valkyrie, Jane Foster Valkyrie. Are they doing the same thing that they did with Thor and Jane Foster, where the name Thor becomes a mantle, and the individual that we've known as Thor for the longest time is Odin's son, actually, and whoever possesses the hammer of Thor and the power of Thor is Thor. So thus Jane Foster becomes Thor. Is that what's going on with Valkyrie? That Valkyrie itself is a mantle that's taken on as the queen of the Valkyries, like, you know?
Yeah, well, Valkyrie was a title, so
Valkyrie is the name of a warrior, like a warrior type, like a soldier.
Mhm.
The queen of the Valkyries was Freya, wasn't it?
Think so.
You've got me. I am. My readings of Thor were spotty readings of Thor proper, the Mighty Thor comic book, and then as he crossed over with and without the Avengers. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why I'm like, okay, something starting from anew. I'm totally willing to read it. I hope they do well.
Yeah, I don't know. Marvel's been crapping the bed so much; it's hard to really take them too seriously. And it says the new series is by Jason Aaron and Al Ewing,
Mhm.
but if Al Ewing is doing more of the work, he's not very good. So
You have experience where you can say that, like you've read stuff in it.
yeah,
Yeah.
that stupid Avengers storyline last year, No Surrender
Mhm.
with the Voyager. He was one of the rotating writers on that, and
Mm.
none of those books were good. They were the varying degrees of dog turd. And yeah, Jason Aaron just is a little wordy for my taste most of the time. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I don't know. I don't know how this is going to go. I might give it a shot, but I just don't have that much faith in Marvel anymore. And I'm only reading like 3 of their books out of the 100 they produce.
Huh. Well, yeah, but
Yeah, Conan's okay, but
I feel bad for anyone who's reading 2/3 or above of what Marvel's producing in terms of titles. Like I look at their like the Marvel week, what's come out like today, for example, and it's like, God damn, this is a mind-bending array of stuff. It's
yeah, they're putting out way too much stuff. It's ridiculous. They need to stop launching new titles and cancel some of what they've got. You know what? If they want to introduce a new character, go back to what they used to do with like Strange Tales or Solo Avengers or DC Comics Presents, and put a new character in an ongoing rotational where you have like a story arc with them, and then another character takes over the book, and then you do an arc with them, and then you move on to someone else. You know, that was a much better way to do it. You can't keep churning out all these failures because you're saturating the market. People don't have that much money to buy all of your titles.
Yeah. It's bleeding the whales dry.
Yeah, and even the whales are getting kind of sick of it. I was talking to my comic book guy today, and he said he lost 3 customers, long-term customers, because they're just tired of spending a bunch of money on junk. You know, you go in there. I drop a lot of money at the comic shop, and he was worried I was going to quit too. And I was like, no, man, I'm an addict. But these guys were like complaining for months that all the stuff they were buying was garbage, and they're spending $100, $200 a week buying stuff that, you know, they're getting no enjoyment out of. That would be incredibly frustrating for anyone. And when you're churning out 100 titles or more, I think they're at like 130 right now every month. Nobody can afford that, no matter how big of a fanboy they are. That's what, $520 a month?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
whew, that's so much to be spending on, and especially because if you're thinking about like $2 comics or like previous cover prices, $140, what more it could buy you. Like if you were buying from Alterna, for example, what
Yeah.
that kind of monthly budget could bring in terms of stacks of comics versus 4+ dollar cover prices, especially with the repeat number ones that are always going to have a higher cover price because they're a number one. Fuck. But,
Yeah, Cynical Lindsay said the best right there. She canceled her pull box because she doesn't want to pay $5 for single issue when you could just buy the trade paperback for, 25, $30. And it's on nicer paper, it's in better binding, and the ink's not going to come off on your hands.
Well, I've never experienced that the ink coming off on my hands with DC titles.
Nope. But I have with Marvel and Dark Horse and even Image books.
Yeah, I've had some of the black and white books from Dark Horse ink smudge.
Yeah, because they're all going to that. Like DC actually made their paper quality better. I don't know if you've noticed that matte paper they're using now.
Mm-hmm.
That's really nice quality paper, but they went the opposite route. Everybody else is going into this garbage stuff.
Yeah. And say, yeah, no, Jim said he's never experienced ink coming off on his hands with any books. I have with Dark Horse black and white books. I've had, when flipping the page, come away with, black smudges on my fingers.
Well, I remember it happening back in the day, but it's also because I was holding the page like in the same spot for a long time. It was a Marvel comic. I don't know what to make of that. You got me. People that have actually published their own comics or have seen the various types of inks and papers that are available would know more about that than I. You guys often hear me complain about news entertainers and the shills out there that are in media and so forth. People have talked about this Chris Hemsworth, Brie Larson thing that's going on, right? It's like you could, what was it, Quiz? What's the line? Or Jack was one telling me about it. I forget.
It was something along the lines of doing your own stunts. You could be the next Tom Cruise. And she goes, I'll be the next me. Thank you very much.
Right. Yeah, you could be the
paraphrase, but yeah.
Did she make a Z shape when she snapped her fingers at him?
No, but she gave this sort of righteously indignant look at Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, she gives that to everybody, I think.
Yeah.
So, in this Entertainment Tonight footage, here they are going back and forth on this, blah, blah, right? And it's like, you kind of see this, like, it kind of captures the look between them, right? Talk about the righteous, indignant look and the, I'm stronger than you, I'm so on. And it's like friendly barbs and so forth. But of course, Entertainment Tonight, and they're a blue check mark. Brie Larson teasing Chris Hemsworth about how Captain Marvel is stronger than Thor is everything we ever needed, to be honest. What do you mean? Who's we? You mean you? Who's we? Fuck, I'm sick of that. You guys have heard me complain about that on Comic Book Curation before. We've been waiting for this, and us in the audience feel that you're talking for yourself. First of all, you shouldn't be referencing yourself in a story, number one. And I get it. It's Entertainment Tonight. This is as garbage tier as it gets. But hey, fuck it. They're a blue check mark. Twitter supports them and endorses them. And it's everything we ever needed. Why did you need this? Because it's a strong, independent woman telling this big brute of a white male to go fuck himself? Like, what the fuck?
No, she's telling the whole patriarchy that she is stronger, she is good enough, she is smart enough, and people like her. Gosh darn it.
Well, yeah. Anyway, that's all I had to say about that. Was just like the whole back and forth between them. I don't really care about it. I just love how these idiots that it's like, we at Entertainment Tonight feel that there's a social media person, Entertainment Tonight. They were speaking for themselves, and I do not even understand what the fuck they meant.
They're all bent out of shit. Oh, sorry, Quiz, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, if celebrities want a little guide to how they should be a celebrity, take a look at Chris Hemsworth's Twitter.
Yeah.
Right?
All it is just, hey, I was on a photo shoot today for this thing. Here are the photos. Oh, hey, I'm going down to the Gold Coast in Australia to surf.
Well,
that's all it is.
It's funny you say that, because it talks about Entertainment Tonight, like people responding to it and different things, and then Brie Larson getting involved and all the other retardation that goes on in the sewer that is Twitter. At the end of the day, Chris Hemsworth tweets out and he gets involved. Oh, right. No, he totally didn't. Disneyland Shanghai for Avengers, squeezed in a little roller coastering.
Yeah, by all accounts, he's like a nice guy.
Chris Hemsworth, you are too good for this, for that world.
Yeah.
Try to be as unabashedly, genuinely you as you possibly can for as long as you can. Please, Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, he seems like
he just talks about roller coastering. I love it.
Yeah. Normal dude doing normal things. He seems like a nice enough guy, pretty normal. I don't know why he's even sitting at the same room as Brie Larson. That must have been awful.
Yeah.
So we got this. I did want to talk about this, and I don't even know what they say in this article, because lots of people are talking about There it is. With the rise of Skywalker, is Disney backtracking on The Last Jedi? And of course, everybody's postulating upon what they saw in the teaser trailer. The teaser trailer, which of course we forced Quiz to watch. It was tough, but we did it.
Yeah.
And people are like, Rise of Skywalker, what could that possibly mean? Either they're like Luke's not actually dead, or she or Kylo Ren, Pylo Men, is a Skywalker himself. But of course he is. We already knew that. So
he's Leia's kid. Of course he is.
It's like, okay, so he's going to claim the Skywalker mantle, lineage, what have you, as opposed to falling deeper into the dark side. Who knows what it means? But it's like, is Disney backtracking on The Last Jedi? I don't know. Let's see. Do they do anything other than speculate randomly? It is a CBR exclusive.
Of course.
Oh, it's an exclusive.
They're doing that just to hit the Google algorithm. So if you type in like Disney exclusive, this will come up.
Yeah,
or Star Wars exclusive.
Yeah.
Let's see how quickly we can discern if there's any actual original information in this. Like, talking to somebody from Disney or a writer or
no, there's nothing like that.
You don't know.
Let
the past dies. Let the past die wasn't simply a line of dialogue by Kylo Ren in The Last Jedi. Yeah, I remember that. Disney, however, has little interest in taking chances with something pop culture. Okay, despite its box office success to the tune of 1.3 billion, Last Jedi seems too controversial for the House of Mouse. Yeah, but they put it out, didn't they? Disney likes playing it safe. Marvel movies. Okay, nothing new yet. The first thing we have to decide is what the film's title actually means. Okay, so you're going to speculate. On a larger scale, he had proved the path of the Jedi was never going to bring a solution. Luke Skywalker, all right. It's difficult to see what kind of legacy Luke has left to leave behind. Hopefully it doesn't mean Star Wars is retconning Rey's parentage, because that would be a real slap in the face. Oh,
to who?
Really? Yeah, and Last Jedi wasn't a slap in the face in terms of your parents were drunkards that sold you for drinking money. That wasn't a slap in the face.
Well, he could have been.
Yeah, well, he could have been. Who knows? Are you tired of seeing your heroes being propped up and then put on display as a testament to your childhood? Well, too bad, because The Rise of Skywalker is doubling down on old friends to leave you with one final twinge of nostalgia. Wait a minute. Whoever complained about this? Are you tired of seeing your heroes propped up and put on display as a testament to your childhood?
Hang on, let me interrupt real quick. Thank you, Tyride, for the Streamlabs. Probably get a Streamlabs. We'll listen to this tomorrow.
Ouch.
Let's say
thanks, Tyride.
Both Polly and I are working on it.
Yeah, believe it or not, things are going on behind the scenes. I've set up the first domino in that direction, and
6 months he'll put the second one up.
Well, no, things are actually going on behind the scenes, and here's an actual exclusive. CBR, take note. It's new information that other people don't have that's being released by you for the first time. Not that many people care about this, but merch is coming. Yes. So anyway, whereas The Last Jedi attempted to create some kind of new narrative around these characters, and if you're absolute, you know what? No, I read the topic sentence of every paragraph. You guys got nothing. You got nothing. This is, damn it. All right, moving on. Quiz, you were right.
The odds were ever in my favor, Polly.
It wasn't exactly a big risk you were taking.
So let's speculate wildly. What do you think is going to happen in The Rise of Skywalker?
That's a good, you know what? That's a good damn question. 3-4 sentence TLDR stuff. We'll go on record right now. What's my speculation as to what's going to happen? Or Jack, you go. What's your speculation?
It's going to be a massive story of Orange Man bad. Serious. I think they're going to use it as a Trump narrative, and they're going to have like Palpatine in the background pulling the strings, all Dick Cheney like. They may even get Dick Cheney to play himself. And it's going to be just Orange Man bad, and they're going to Mary Sue it up. She's going to have no problems doing anything. It's going to be really stupid. Now, if it were me, I would do the reverse and make Rey the bad guy and have a redemption arc for Kylo, but they're not going to do that.
Huh? Quiz?
Nothing. They're going to shoehorn in something that is going to require you to either watch 12 or 13 TV shows or another trilogy of movies and bring about absolutely no resolution whatsoever. There's not going to be a conclusion to this movie.
Huh?
That's believable.
There won't be.
I think that what I previously suggested is going to be a quasi version of what's going to happen. The Iliad, like in the Iliad, the gods are fighting amongst themselves, and they use as their proxies the Trojans and the Greeks fighting their war, and they get involved in an arm's distance kind of way by helping one side and helping the other and so forth. I think that kind of idea is what's going to play out. The Emperor is going to be a Force ghost. Luke is a Force ghost. Qui-Gon, whoever the fuck else, right? They're going to be Force ghosts, and they're the light versus dark side of the Force, and using the living people as their proxies by trying to help them. So Kylo Ren and Rey. Rey is going to be revealed to be a Skywalker all along. Kylo was lying, and because it's the third film, and J.J. Abrams plays it extremely safe when he does stuff. He knows what he's doing in that regard. It's going to be since The Force Awakens was a replay of Star Wars. The Rise of Skywalker is going to be a replay of Jedi, meaning it's going to have a evil character go through a redemption arc who is redeemed by the good character. So it'll be Rey redeeming Kylo, and Kylo will die because Vader died. At his redemptive moment, he's going to do something that redeems him and then dies thereafter.
But
that's my guess.
The major thing about that, though, is the fact that it had emotional gravitas because Luke was his son. There's no relation between Rey and Kylo.
No, they're going to be both Skywalkers.
No. See, what's going to happen is Luke's going to be revealed to not be dead. He's going to return with his friend Lumpy, who is Chewbacca's kid or brother or whatever from the Christmas special. And they're going to celebrate Life Day after he redeems Kylo. They all get together and kill Rey, and who is evil inherently. We all saw that in The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're going to celebrate the Life Day, and Mace Windu's ghost will show up and do a little dance.
Make a little love. Get down tonight.
Yeah, it'd be a good time. Everybody will be there. Boba Fett will show up and do a little disco dance.
They will resurrect B. Arthur to sing a song.
Yeah, she's not doing anything.
What was her song? One More Drink, My Friend?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, you haven't seen the Star Wars Holiday Special, you're no kind of nerd. But honestly, though, you should go check it out. It's available everywhere in bootleg copies, and it's hilarious. Well,
B. Arthur is the sexiest woman alive.
Mr. Monopoly said episode 8 was not a copy of Empire. You're not wrong. It wasn't a copy of Empire, but it wasn't made by JJ. It was made by Roundhead Ryan Johnson, who wanted to completely step away from what JJ had set up. The whole thing was the reversal of expectations that he kept saying. And that movie amounted to arguably not much more than a reversal of expectations, so therefore, how would I write it? Jack Gunsky asks. I would go full bore with the Iliad thing. There's no small amount of hope when I'm saying that, because Jesus Christ, Homer's epic. Go with what works. That story's worked for a long time. It's a classic element of storytelling. It brings in the otherworldly, the gods, if you will, the ethereal, but also it's very based in reality because they're trying to help and assist, and it's light versus dark, and there's redemption. And the story that I described, written powerfully and in a very real way, where the Emperor is a very powerful dark force and Luke is the epitome of the light side. I don't know. That would be fucking fantastic. It would be redemptive, not only for the characters, but for the whole franchise.
They could do it like Clash of the Titans, and then Rey will have a little mechanical bird that hangs out with her.
But what? No, I know the bird. Yeah, but what?
I just want to see the mechanical bird show up again.
He did show up in the remake for a moment.
That movie was garbage.
Hey,
shave Sam Worthington's head so you could tell who he was in the horribly edited fight scenes.
You already heard how Jack would write it, Jack Gunsky. It would be Orange Man bad, left, right, and center. Yeah.
What do I think that new droid was for? To bring in the soccer fans, because it looks like a soccer ball.
They fed the Death Star plans to the hungry soccer ball.
Jim asks you, what do you think that the new droid is for that you see right beside BB-8?
Oh no, I was talking about BB-8. He's a soccer ball.
No, I realize he's a soccer ball, but in the
what the fuck happened to R2D2? Why is C-3PO there, but R2D2 isn't?
He was off being in a better movie.
I guess.
He was like, I'm out. I'm telling you, they could always go with the fact that Luke isn't actually dead, that he's some kind of new Jedi or mastered teleportation or something. We don't actually know that he's dead. So
Sorry, go ahead.
That would be one way they could try and salvage some fandom.
Wouldn't that be interesting? Luke achieves, like, he's not just like, blue glowing force ghost. He's like reached some new Jedi status. He's become like a Jedi Super Saiyan or something where, he's on a different level. So it's like, yeah, he's not corporeal anymore, but he's still not dead. I'd be like, that's far too creative. We're talking about Disney.
No, if they did that, then I would lose what, tiny shreds of respect I would have for Star Wars.
Well, no, they could just do a big crossover and have Mickey Mouse dressed like he was in Fantasia with the little wizard hat, and he summons up Luke Skywalker out of the boiling cauldron, and they round up other Disney characters and they go help save the world that way and stop the Empire. Because that would give them a whole new line of action figures to make. You can't tell me they didn't consider that in the office. They're like, how can we milk this for an extra $20?
I personally think that what you see of the Rey Princess Leia interaction in the teaser trailer, here's my best guess. Rey is a Skywalker in the same way that Luke and Leia were separated to keep them safe. In the same way, Rey and Pile of Men were separated. I think that explains what's her name's reaction, Daisy Ridley's reaction, when they're like, what about you two hooking up and on social media, you're blah, 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 blah. And the explanation.
Like, ew, he's my brother.
Yeah, because she's obviously acted out all the scenes and that's her brother. The explanation that she gives is, well, he's just killed so many people. He's just responsible for so much murder. I can't see myself associated with somebody like that. That's a good explanation to get out of it, but I think it's because he's your kindred. And I think that Rey is going to have that scene, and it's like Leia as Force Ghost. They're going to be on like the Force ethereal plane talking to one another. That's my guess. But then again, maybe I'm involved in wishful thinking because all of this seems like reasonably good storytelling. Not that I'm the best storyteller, but Jesus, Last Jedi.
I don't know. None of that even sounded particularly good to me, Polly.
Shut up. You haven't even seen you haven't seen any fucking Star Wars films since
no.
Whatever the fuck.
Like anyone who has any sort of shred of confidence in themselves, I have not seen those movies because I know my reaction will be. Plus, I already know what happens in all those movies because of pop culture osmosis. Whether I've seen them or not, I'll know what happens in them.
Why else would these two, well, I was about to say, why else would these two have this kind of psychic connection? And I'm like, oh no, wait a minute. That was already explained in Last Jedi. Snoke was making it happen. There's such little substance in that film that it's easy to forget constantly little things that are said. Anyway, Polly can't tell a story. Shh, just because Quiz doesn't like it. Quiz don't like nothing. That don't mean anything.
I like plenty of stuff, but I definitely do have standards.
What are these standards you speak of? I've heard this word before.
Well, there is one story that I wanted to touch on before we touch on the thing that very likely will send Inquisitor into a rage. but I don't want to get to that to the last thing.
Ugh.
Jack, for those of you who aren't aware, is going to explain the background of Mark Waid versus Richard C. Meyer. And the reason why he's going to do it is because he has often criticized me as not being able to be succinct. So, Jack, display your abilities at succinctness and sum up the story really quickly for those who don't know.
Okay, Richard Meyer was going to publish a comic book through Antarctic Press, but Mark Waid was like, so he called them up and interfered in the contract, allegedly, and they dropped the book magically right after that. So Richard C. Meyer took Waid to court, and they are currently in the process of a federal lawsuit.
Nice. Excellent. Well done. Yeah, that's what's going on. So the argument that they're involved in court over whether or not it'll be in federal court, like should it even be happening, is based upon diversity of jurisdiction. They're from different places, so on, where we should have this in a Texas court, and these are the filings that are going on. Now, I went out there and grabbed onto these court filings, and if you had watched Nick Recada's stream, he touched on this stuff as well as some other people out there on YouTube. But for those of you who hadn't seen it, and for the sheer entertainment value of the tweets from Mark Waid revealed within, I wanted to get the court filing and show it to you guys because he's so funny. Actually, before I get into that, let me do something real quick because my potato needs something to be done to it. Jack, you're in charge. Be right back.
No, it's Jack's show.
Well, I'm chewing, so... All right, I'm in charge. What you been up to, Quiz?
Nothing.
Read any comics lately?
No, unfortunately. My pitch tonight is going to be one that I've read a while ago. But yeah, no, you turned me on to From Hell, so I have all of that in my queue. I was going to read that. That unfortunately is not my pitch tonight, although that would be apropos. No, it's not.
Now, have you been reading any of the new Daredevil series?
No. You got to remember, Jack. If it ain't the X-Men, there's very little chance that I care for Marvel.
I understand. No, I read a couple of decent books, but man, I was getting caught up mostly on Detective Comics lately, and so mediocre.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. Daredevil's one of those characters I think has potential to be interesting, but I keep on hearing things like, you got to read the Frank Miller run of Daredevil. That's like the best Daredevil storytelling. Okay, I'll take your word for it. But I hear just as many people talk about almost every other Daredevil comic and say how bad it is. Well,
the current Daredevil series is by Chip Zdarsky, and he's getting a lot better. But he's clearly writing it as if he was writing episodes of the TV show. And that
okay, I'm back. I just said okay, I'm back.
Okay, where were we?
Oh no, I was just listening to you guys talk about Daredevil there for a second. Sorry about that. Oh no, wait, my computer just popped up with a warning about system resources and so forth, so I need to shut a few things down before the stream got shut down. But it's all fine. Problem addressed.
Fine.
Disaster averted.
Everything's fine. Nothing to see here.
Yep. So the things that I wanted to talk about particularly were the tweets therein. I saw somebody mention the deposition elements that are involved in court filings, and they are hilarious indeed. The deposition. Waid does himself no favors. He admits a couple of times during the deposition as to what he was up to, and says things that could easily be construed or argued by a competent lawyer, which it certainly seems like Richard Meyer has, as to be like, come on, the guy himself is admitting this. It could be argued to be as such, one would think. I'm not Jamal Igle. I'm not a lawyer, but it doesn't look good from my extremely layman perspective. It doesn't look good. But what does look great is the tweets. So these are between Mark Waid and Ben, who is one of the co-owners, one of the two owners of Antarctic Press. And Mark Waid puts his call into Antarctic Press to say, do you realize the holy hellfire that's going to rain down on you if you publish this guy's book? Do you know who this guy is? And this is the basis of tortious interference. He's committing a tort, a harm. He's interfering harmfully in this guy's contractual relationships. This guy meaning Richard C. Meyer's contractual relations with Antarctic Press. So Ben tweets at him, or messages him. Thank you for talking to me this afternoon. I've decided to drop the project. Statement on Facebook coming soon. You are a very good man, Mark Waid writes back. Text me or DM me when the statement goes up, and I'll recirculate it if you like. It's posted. Good man. Thank you. And stay in touch. Did you want me to repost it? Will that create more headaches for you? I am not sure how to approach it, but I'm prepared for the lashing that I'm about to get from the other direction. The lashing, Waid warned him about. What's really interesting about this is like this statement right here. It's like Waid says, I never wanted to convince him. I wasn't trying to convince him to drop the project, except several times. It seems like he was going to go ahead, even though he knew it was going to be a contentious publication, publishing Richard C. Meyer's work. But he says, thank you for talking to me this afternoon. Seemingly, I have thus decided to drop the project. Like that conversation was somehow pivotal. Again, I'm not Jamal Igle, but that doesn't look good. When we go down and the hilarity begins, why don't you give it a day? That way it looks less like I'm just trying to take a victory lap. Why would you want to take a victory lap, Mark Waid? Because something you wanted to happen had occurred, because you had attempted to make something happen and it did happen. So now you're taking a victory lap for success. That doesn't look good. Mm-hmm. And sounds good. I appreciate your support. I appreciate your support. Of course, be well. Just checking in to see how you're holding up. He talks about it. I had to close my Facebook account after the nonstop death threats. Would love to read your manifesto. So they go over it and over it and over it, and they're just talking back and forth. Let's jump ahead to the end of their back and forth. The consequences is now on me, not you. I'd wish you'd been with that honest with me on Friday. It's why are the consequences coming down on you? This is where the people start. People have commented that Waid comes across something like an angry ex-girlfriend repeatedly tweeting things or messaging you or leaving voice messages, or angry ex-boyfriend, I would imagine. No, the consequences are me. I wish you'd been that honest with me. All of it was an effort to help you. Will you at least give me that? Because everything you are saying to me indicates that you
straight with me. Yeah.
Yeah. Will you at least give me that? Because everything you're saying indicate, that you were straight with me when you confirmed you didn't feel bullied by me at all and that we are all good. Are you changing your story to say that I bullied you, or were you straight with me on Friday? That's all I need to know. Then I'll leave you alone. I'll lose your number. You never need to hear from me again. Just tell me I didn't intentionally bully or hurt you, because if I did, I need to know. Like,
I need it in writing that I didn't bully you.
Right.
Tell me I didn't bully you.
Right.
Or else.
What's so interesting to me is the repetition of last Friday. Were you being straight with me on Friday when you said I didn't bully you, or are you changing your story to say I bullied you in difference to what you told me when I talked to you last Friday? Like giving them, like, trying to create multiple avenues of, like, I need it in writing. I need it in writing. I need it in writing. Like, maybe, like, this is all reading between the lines, of course, but Jesus Christ, that doesn't look good. It looks so much like what a layman like myself would describe as a consciousness of guilt.
Yes, I think so.
I'm aware I did something. People are saying I bullied you. I need you to say I didn't. And notice that there's no messages between them. No responses at all.
Yeah.
He's not saying it. It's like, well, people are saying this and you're kind of saying it, but I didn't, but, you know. Oh man. Keeping in mind that the part that I found most entertaining is that this is all in a jurisdictional filing. That's good lawyering from a layman's perspective. It's like, because all of these calls are from where Mark Waid lives in Malibu, California, to Antarctic Press, located in Texas. And this whole filing is about, this case belongs in Texas. It was all about Texas. Mark Waid claimed that he was unaware that Antarctic Press was even located in Texas, but yet claims in on a panel that he was on at a comic book convention in Texas a week later, he's saying, I knew the guy from Antarctic Press. I just wanted to call him up and tell him what he could look forward to if he were to go ahead with publication. Dude, you say you knew the guy from Antarctic Press. You're in Texas at a comic book convention. You've been to multiple comic book conventions in Texas over the years, yet you're claiming you didn't know Antarctic Press was located in Texas. Like, I don't know how the details of how jurisdictional matters are decided, but seems from my perspective like it belongs in Texas. The whole thing seems to be about nothing but Texas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's say if he has the number of the people who run Antarctic Press, I would suggest that he would know them. And if he knows them, he absolutely knows that they're headquartered in Texas.
I would think the area code on the phone number might give it away.
Yeah, just a little.
And don't get me wrong, I understand the why wouldn't you try? If you're Waid's lawyer, let's say, right? What's the first step? Well, they're trying to, let's make an argument over jurisdiction that this doesn't even belong there. You know, that sort of thing. It's like, yeah, why not? But it doesn't really seem to be a particularly something that's going to be particularly successful. Yeah. Given the things that he said in the deposition, given the things that he said on Twitter, given this text messaging back and forth, given especially what he said at that comic book convention a week later, where he said, yeah, I made the call. Damn right. And here's why I made the call. But it was like friendly, good citizen of the community reasons that he tries to argue. Like, I just wanted to let him know. It's like, dude, that's on some, hey, Jack, it's a really nice comic store you've got here. It'd be a shame if someone threw a Molotov cocktail through your window. Like, you know, it's like on that level. And it's,
I understand what you're saying, but honestly, if somebody threw a Molotov cocktail through your window, you'd probably do better on the insurance money than selling the comics.
Ouch.
Just saying.
Depressing.
Well, yeah. Wow.
I think you should go with jewelry store for that analogy in the future.
Hey, got a nice comic publication here. Be a shame if anything happened to it.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it sounds. You could just hear like a bad Brooklyn accent coming through from Mark Waid. And they've got him on record, you know, on that recording in Texas, talking about how he made the call and all that, and he calls Richard like a white supremacist or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. He'd be kind of stupid to not go for a settlement. And if Richard's smart, he'll just say no and take it to the cleaners.
He really should.
Well,
I think I think Richard is definitely got that mentality, right? It doesn't matter if Waid's going to want to settle; he's not going to. Because the reason why this lawsuit is even happening is not because of the money; it's because of the principle.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at the matter of the deposition that I referred to. That, yeah, I can understand. Peter asks, is Waid worth a lot of money? Yeah, Waid has been a very successful writer for a great number of years in comic books. He goes back decades. His personal wealth, I don't know. That's kind of like between him and his accountant, but I don't think anybody lives in Malibu being broke. And unless he was flagrantly stupid with his money over the years, one would think that, yeah, he's quite well heeled, you know?
Yeah, supposedly he's worth a few million, but you never know. He's got a lot of creator-owned properties, too, that are probably worth some money.
Yeah, and he just started, oh, shit. What's his not imprint, but
The company he works at, Humanoids.
That's right. And again, it's kind of like playing reading minds, but it seems like he gathered together every Richard C. Meyer hater in the world to work with him.
Yeah.
I mean, Mags Visaggio's there. Kwanzer's there. Yeah. It's like, Jesus Christ, man. You just went and got all your online Twitter peeps, huh?
Yeah, they're
Humanoids.
launching like an introduction to their universe called H1. It's going to be a free comic book day thing. So look for that if you're interested.
Tell them what it's about.
It's the Burger King Kids Club universe.
No, tell them about the free comic book. What happens in it?
No, they got to wait and see. It's only a few weeks away.
Oh, come on. All right.
No, don't ruin surprises for everybody. Good night, Mr. Monopoly.
Yeah, night. We are going to have fun talking about that. Like, I can't believe that Kwanzaa was willing to go along with that because it makes his own comic look stupid.
Everything about it, every comic book makes his look stupid. It's dumb.
I kind of want to know now. I'm going to go and look it up.
No, you're not. God, see, I can resist opening my presents before Christmas. Why can't you?
Because...
In any case, we were talking about the deposition, even Bounding into Comics here is covering it because of the particular point. Mr. Byrne, during this deposition, asks Mark Waid, do you have any basis to substantiate a contention that Mr. Meyer is a white supremacist? Oh, I just want to add one quick thing. In the Humanoids comic book line, yeah, they've actually got a comic called Meyer. Jesus.
Yeah.
It's like... Yeah, okay, fine. It's about Meyer Lansky, but it's like they couldn't resist. How can we incorporate this guy in such a way as that we can't be directly called out for it? You know? Well,
living rent free in people's heads is worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, no kidding. So Byrne asks him, do you have any basis to substantiate a contention that Mr. Meyer is a white supremacist? Waid's lawyer objects to form. Mark Waid says, I would say in the materials I provided to the court and various social media posts about how it's not a, the one about the, it's not what a sideshow or a circus, whatever. When you hire black people for comics, that sort of thing that's in there. Yeah, absolutely. At least indicated a propensity towards what we refer to as white supremacy these days. It's a pretty broad spectrum. Wow, buddy.
So he was trembling. Yeah, he's tripping over his words there. Well, I would say the materials I provided the coder use various social media posts about how, it's not a, the one about the, it's not what a sideshow circus, whatever, when you hire black people for comics.
It's just like, at least it indicates a propensity towards what we refer to as white supremacy these days. It's a pretty broad spectrum. So I called him I'm not even going to guess. Like, I mean, that statement stands on its own as just being, wow, man. So Byrne asks him, do you have any documentation or other evidence of Mr. Meyer directly espousing white supremacist doctrines? Or are you inferring from the materials you submitted to the court that he must think that way? Waid responds, are you asking, is there a specific moment when I am aware of, he said, I am a white supremacist? Byrne responds, or espouse principles you associated with white supremacy? Mark Waid said, I associate? Absolutely. Again, I stepped out on you. I apologize. Like, Jesus, like that he associated with white supremacy, but Waid associates anyone who disagrees with him with something that he can call a bad name.
I think it would be hilarious if Meyer's lawyer then calls for a psychoanalysis of Waid to figure out what Waid deems as being associating with white supremacy.
Like,
I would love to see that in writing. Like, then we would have documentation.
Frosted Glass asks, this man's a writer?
I think that really sums it up best.
It does. And in all fairness, if you were to see a transcript of your conversation, this stream alone, I'm positive that a lot of the things that I say have restarted sentences, ahs, all kinds of things. I would like to think that they wouldn't represent a complete incoherency of thought, though.
Yeah. And say, I know I'm definitely bad about. I just did it. I know I'm really bad about that when it comes to saying things live. But that's the reason why the YouTube stuff, you've got the ability to edit when you put up a video, and then live streams, you're supposed to expect this sort of thing. That sort of thing, when you're seeing it in a court case, when someone asks you a question, you can't formulate a thought to give a coherent answer immediately. That just seems like you're grasping at straws to be able to provide an answer that makes you look good. Well, guess what, Mark? It doesn't make you look good.
I mean, trying to reinterpret this paragraph here where, he's directly asked this, right, is trying to reorder it into something that's more sensible as the most charitable way I can do it. It would be, I provided a number of materials to the court from various social media posts that demonstrate exactly what you referred to. And then nothing particularly direct, but references to hiring Black people in comics, and would indicate a propensity towards what is generally referred to as white supremacy these days. We consider it to be a broad spectrum. Yeah. I consider it to be a broad spectrum.
The royal we.
Yeah, it's we. It's an attempt to
we.
He uses the phrase we a lot, and Nick Ricada pointed out on his stream, as well as a number of other people did, and then some critics on YouTube have kind of latched on and just repeated that other people have said that. Yes, it's an attempt to disseminate the responsibility across as broad of a range as Waid can. That's how it comes across to me, in my opinion. Whenever there is anything libel, potentially legally damaging to him, he stops referring to himself as an individual, but as part of a group, and all of us think this going ahead, and then thereby disseminates the responsibility broadly. That's how it seems to come across. Mm-hmm. I don't know how that's going to play out in a court of law, because I don't know how Texas law, assuming it gets played out in Texas courts, are going to view that. But it doesn't look good.
It's not that he's trying to avoid the blame. He's redistributing the blame so that it's across a broad spectrum of the proletariat. See, can't sue us all.
He's working though. He's working. So is everyone ready for Quiz to get angry? I am.
Yeah.
Okay. You got to let me get through the first couple of sentences, Quiz. Just
have you read it yet, Quiz?
From Waypoint.
I was good, boy. I didn't read this.
Okay.
Anyway, I did read it, but I read only the first 2 paragraphs, I think.
A canceled board game reveals how colonialism inspires and haunts games. Scramble for Africa was canceled amid apologies from a publisher and a broader debate about ethical gaming in the tabletop space.
Get fucked. Ethical gaming. You're having too much fun. That violates ethics.
Well, just so we a little bit of context, this is the individual in question who wrote this article.
Yeah, I mean, that beard is just dripping with soy.
He describes himself as hideous illegal on most worlds. He/him. Pitch me. Join john.bowling@gmail. So here's our man. He has waxed his mustache. This man pays particular attention to his appearance, except for that neck beard. Go figure. Whatever.
He looks smelly.
He's got his pronouns in his bio. That's enough to make sure that nothing he says in this stream of verbal diarrhea is going to be worth a damn.
Mustafa said, I want to take his lunch money.
Well, let's see what he says about his own article, because he tweeted it and then retweeted himself.
Of course he did.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote about the past week's board game controversy, what it means for historical games, and how to do better.
Do better. Do what I tell you to do, because if you don't, then you're a Nazi.
I put that up specifically because of that last clause in that sentence and how to do better. I love that so much. So let's read this article. Oh yeah, Waypoint is a Vice publication. I wouldn't have ever guessed.
Because I go to Vice for my tabletop news.
Yeah. On April 7th, prominent publisher of board games, GMT Games, released a statement announcing they pulled a game from their pre-order list, Scramble for Africa. The game portrayed the, I've never been able to say that word, named after, what is it, eponymous? Epipotamus?
Epitomus? What?
This word right here.
Eponymous.
Eponymous. It means named after the thing, right?
Yeah.
Eponymous? Yeah.
Like when an album is named after an artist, it's an epipotamus title. I've never known how to say that. I've only ever read the word. Okay, anyway.
It's all he wants for Christmas is an eponymous.
Good
I
God.
Want an
In any case,
Christmas.
a game of the invasion of the African continent by European powers in the late 19th and early 20th centuries seemed like one that portrayed the colonial period in Africa in a simplistic way, ultimately rewarding players for being the best at recreating a piece of history that included genocide in Namibia and mass enslavement in the Belgian Congo Free State. It had come under heavy critique from board gamers for, in the words of GMT's own statement, both topic and treatment of its colonialist historical setting. The company's decision to pull the game fanned the flames of discussion in the relatively small board games community. While some praised GMT for the statement and decision, it infuriated others. Never apologize.
Don't do it.
Who saw the decision to pull the game as bowing to politically correct pressure or, quote, erasing history. Multi-page threads of arguing and insults saw Board Game Geek moderators leaving whole strings of comments removed. When the game's entry into Scramble for Africa was removed, those threads went to the entry for unpublished prototype. They've since drawn so much attention and commentary that untouched, unpublished prototype has shot to the top ranks of Board Game Geek's The Hotness list and stayed there all this week. So you're just jumping on board this thing, huh? The controversy around colonialist themes in the board games is not new. It has been drawn out, protracted event, and nobody working in board game design has an excuse to be ignorant of it. Different designers and critics have addressed the problem of how to treat colonialist themes properly in different ways. It's a much discussed subject. Okay, that is a very poor use of an M dash, by the way. From Bruno Fedalutis, widely read essay, Post-Colonial Catan, to more scholarly takes like Borit, and Olson's representation of colonialism in 3 popular modernist board games. Widely read, yeah, citation needed. What peer-reviewed publications were these published in? I don't know. I guess I'd have to run down that rabbit hole to check this guy's sources. But I don't have much faith considering the direction he seems to be coming from.
Well, you know, I'm looking at GMT Games's library here. There's a lot of stuff here. It's all historical wargaming, by the way. It's all historical. It could be, you know, things like Mogul stuff. Like there's 1948 Race to the Midwest. It's all about railroad operations and so on and so forth. But railroad. Yeah, how many Chinamen you got working there on the railroad? No, there's one that really just stuck out to me. Bayonets and tomahawks. Gonna have to pull that one too, aren't we?
Aren't we? Elizabeth Warren.
I don't know if you guys realized it, but historical war has all kinds of ugly shit going on in it, and this is historical war gaming. I'm just kind of pointing out a connection there.
Well, you know, I was thinking about this today when I was taking a shower. Because I knew you were going to bring this article up. I knew it. We need to get rid of Risk. Shut down Milton Bradley, aka now God. Who owns Milton Bradley? Hasbro. Shut down Hasbro. We cannot have Risk. Risk is all about colonization, and it's not just colonizing Africa or America, it's colonizing the world. Because if there's anything that appeals to the white male demographic, it's world domination. Yeah, that's right. All white men are supervillains.
Or bear the privilege of supervillainy. Yes.
Yeah, it's not like you're playing a board game where you're part of the slave trade and you have to race other ships to get the most black people over to America. I mean, come on, it's a historical war game. It's not even going to be particularly realistic. It's just going to have a bunch of little wooden pieces and maybe some cardboard chits that you move around and blow people up with. That's it.
Well, I will tell you this. Okay, let me just bring this guy back up so we know who we're talking about here. Isn't Africa being colonized by China? Kevin Dugan asked. Yes, at the time that you're talking about, like the European race to colonize Africa, it was done militarily, but things aren't done militarily often in the modern era. They're done economically, because economic weapons and paper soldiers fight very strongly, to use some like fanciful terminology. You can buy things and then put in security forces to protect your property. Yeah, China's making huge property advances in the former colonized areas of Africa, European colonized areas of Africa. Do you think this guy whines all day about that? No, he doesn't care, because the stuff he's reading is post-colonial stuff, which, like, okay, it's not that Europe didn't do that, and I'm not trying to play apologetics for it. It seems that your problem of colonization of foreign lands isn't your concern, because there is no complaining from this guy. And I scrolled through his Twitter, which is a nightmare, by the way. I'll throw some examples when we're done with this, about war in the Pacific during World War II, which was, the Empire of Japan attempting to colonize mainland China. That was what they were up to.
Yeah,
they didn't hide it.
The rape of Nanking. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's an element that can't be gotten away from when you're doing the war in the Pacific, because that's what was going on at the time. Is this guy complaining about what was done to the mainland Chinese in that time, that it's not accurately represented as being enslavement and butchery, because it was. No, he doesn't talk about it. And so I'm just pointing out.
You're going to have to explain the phrase paper soldiers, because I don't think Straight Sith Male knows what you're referring to.
See, this is the problem. This is the problem with people talking about post-colonialism and all this other kind of shit. It doesn't fucking matter. Okay? No matter how much you want to sit there and postulate about what could have been, because of all of the shit that happened in the past, changes nothing. All it does is it makes you feel better about your own guilt. Well, guess what, motherfucker? I don't have anything to feel guilty about. Get over yourself.
But he says right here, well, paper soldiers in that sense, like I said, to use some fanciful language, I'm not trying to make a direct comparison. It's just paper weapons are powerful. There's, they have been used throughout history, like largely in the form of treaties, but up until the very modern era, where legalism and international corporations became a thing, were they ever as powerful as they were? Why is it that diamond mines and gold finds can be protected militarily?
Okay, let me break it down to the direct answer.
Okay.
It's not referring to actual physical soldiers. It's talking about treaties used as acts of war and money and investments. It's not. He's not referring to people. Yeah, that's where the distinction is.
Yeah. Okay. I meant it as a.
Let's get back to the article, because we are going way off into tangent land.
Dealing with these themes requires caution and care, Inquisitor. And some games handle it well, while others, like Puerto Rico, erase the realities of history, employing complex themes with a light hand. And they talk about they do so without care, whether or not your colonists suffer and die after arriving in their colonist ship, whether they're nearly exterminated by forced labor and disease, as the Taijano were. They care not, in the natives of the Puerto Rican island he's referring to there. It goes on and on. There's bad things that went on in history that aren't being accurately represented in this game, even though they're outside the scope of what the game is actually doing. Thus, we have Scramble for Africa, another tradition of using a historical theme without considering precisely what the game mechanics say about that theme. GMT put it up as a pre-order with minimal information on February 20th, and there it sat for a month without further elaboration. And then he goes through all of the details and the developer's notes and so forth. By April 5th, however, there was a wider world of board gamers that had noticed the game, and the backlash became intense. You mean people brigaded online?
Yeah,
You
and I
could
wonder who
say it.
fucking led that, you scum of the earth.
Well, I think he was probably commenting after the fact when he realized there was something he can get involved with. Social media posts sprang up decrying the game's light treatment of the subject matter and what had been released so far. Quote, tone deaf doesn't even start to describe it, said one poster. Another called it genocide ass game. One War Games blogger posted a lengthy dissection of the game's marketing copy, highlighting Scramble for Africa's place alongside past games with similar themes. These critiques had a lot of merit, focusing mostly around the language used to describe and market the game, as well as the game's described mechanics. I'm sure the mechanics issues were random events in the games included penalties for atrocities, reducing the horrors of rhino hide whips to a minor setback, an unavoidable consequence of being good at colonization. The game had you explore new terrain tiles, and then build mines or plantations to exploit them, simply assuming a labor force would appear, as well as garrisons to guard against insurrections by the natives. Those natives could be incited to revolt by other players, but this was just a setback. There was no discussed mechanic to provide something like Ethiopia's successful defense against invading European powers. You could even choose to play on a random map, fictionalizing a real place or better represent the mystery of 19th century Africa. Ultimately, the winner of the game was the one who had exploited the peoples and resources of Africa the best.
That's how conquest was done for hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah.
I mean, these people are fucking stupid. Yeah, I just don't get it. Like Ryan said, who cares? Board games aren't history. You're taking a historical concept and time period and exploring it through a board game. You're not actually forging history. Nobody is actually being enslaved. It's aggravating that they're doing this to games that could be interesting and could actually spark somebody to go look at the history of a region and make them learn about it. Instead, no, they got to dump all over it.
Well, Mustafa says two things here. The latest one is hang on. So you get punished for committing atrocities? Yes, but it's not enough of a setback as far as this author is concerned. Like it actually has that mechanic in there, but it's not a heavy duty enough of a mechanic inside the game. And the other statement is like genocide ass game, which he describes later here as its critics were just asking for more understanding of power dynamics, more engagement with the historical theme, and a more intellectual bent when dealing with complex issues, because it's a genocide ass game. I don't know, man. It sounds like you are putting eloquence upon somebody who's just going, fuck this thing.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. What did he say? He said something about there being massive social media backlash.
Yeah.
Sure as fuck wasn't on Twitter.
Well,
I've been searching for Scramble for Africa. You know what I'm finding? News stories of people actually doing things in Africa. Definitely not a fucking, board game.
What? The Guilty Land is a different game that takes a look at American slavery, focusing instead on the failure of institutions and systems to undo the evil for which they were founded. Games like Colonialism are about colonizers doing awful things, ultimately resulting in economic victory based upon the grabbing of resources. But the art and presentation presents those things as being awful and oppressive, not as discovering new wonders and closing down slave markets for victory points. Your games must make you feel guilty. Guilty!
Yeah, I don't want to live in a world where I'm shamed every time I do something. That's just lazy.
I don't want to play a game that's going to try to make me feel bad for something that I didn't do.
Yeah.
It's bad enough when I play Monopoly.
The game, I mean, is broad enough to capture historical context. And it's like, he speaks about like GMT should be doing more nuanced games here and so forth. Neither of it is about erasure of history. You are talking about amplification of an aspect of that history such that will coincide with your ideological aims. That's all. Don't act like this is about a right and wrong thing. It's about right based upon and it should be played out on board games. Jack cracked this joke in DMs that this should be Tablegate. And I thought that was funny because
I was serious. I coined that term. Everybody that uses it owes me 50 cents.
It reminds me of Sargon a long time ago when somebody asked him in a live stream, when do SJWs quit? And I know it's an overused term. I get that.
They don't.
But when do they stop? And Sargon offhandedly just made a reference, and it ended up, I think, being like quite descriptive unintentionally. He said they don't leave. They leave when it's burned to the ground and there's no one left to boss around. Then they go somewhere else and boss people around, because the whole goal is to tell people what to do and how they're wrong or bad. So as long as there's still people to tell that they're wrong or bad or boss around, they're not going to leave. And I was, Jesus Christ, that's so depressing, but he's not wrong.
Yeah, pretty
and
much.
It's like, where's a new place where we can write about our outrage around this or that? You don't think I'm wrong? Well, or you might assume that I'm wrong. I dug around on this guy's, just scrolled. Dig around. It's so easy to scroll through someone's Twitter. I mean, this is a guy who retweets stuff like this. Aladdin could have used a wish to end the class system, but chose to become a class traitor instead. Memes.
The left can't meme.
The left cannot meme is exactly what I thought. And this got likes from, a whole bunch of he, her, she, him, zer type people in their bios. And it's like,
can meme moralizing fucking joyless shit pail socialists can't meme. I can meme very well, thank you very much.
And I'm a lefty.
These days you're more of a moderate quiz.
So the let me just go through the the Bret Easton Ellis came out with a new book. And of course, our man John Bowling here says that Bret Easton Ellis interview made me realize I've never seen someone make a hit piece on themselves.
You're an author, Mr. John Boulding. Themselves.
I know. Yeah, themselves. No, it's not. I went and read that article because I was like, what article? It's in the New Yorker. It's an interview. I read part of it out on Monkey in the Morning. It's the so-called journalist from the New Yorker who's interviewing him about his new book. And the only thing he asks him about is Trump. Literally the whole interview. That's it. He's just like, well, what are you saying? That Donald Trump isn't a racist? So I don't know if he is or he isn't. In summation, Ellis responds. He says, well, we can agree that Donald Trump does say a lot of racist things. That's something we can agree on, right? And then he brings up the pussy grabbing thing. And he said Mexicans are all rapists. And like, he doesn't really ask him about the book very much. It comes up in two different occasions. And what he says is, maybe he goes, I don't know. I'm not really interested in politics. I'm interested in the reaction that people have to politics. And that's what I'm writing about in this book. So I don't know how I should have gone about that, if not the way that I did, it being not interested in politics. The interviewer actually responds by saying, maybe you shouldn't have written the book at all then. That would have been a good place to start.
Well, you see, you have to agree on certain ground rules during an interview. And one of them is Orange Man bad.
Well, I just, I'm certainly not making this comic book curation about Ellis. It's just this guy's perspective on that interview was Ellis was doing a hit piece on himself by being involved in that interview. Really? Are you sure the journalist wasn't out to do a hit piece on him? It tells me a lot about your skewed perspective on these matters.
No, they've got to burn down anything they don't like. We're seeing it in board games now with this Africa game. We've been watching it in comics for a couple of years now, and they've been trying to invest into Warhammer 40K. If they don't like you, they want to destroy you. And even in science fiction writing, they have like manifestos on how you handle writing like LGBTQ characters in sci-fi now. Mm-hmm. If you want to join the Sci-Fi Writers Guild, it's crazy. The whole world's going nuts, and these journalists are all kooks too.
In scrolling through this gentleman's Twitter, and I'm not trying to make him responsible for it. I'm just pointing out the thought bubbles that occur on Twitter. This is somebody that he's tweeted before, and he retweets this, and it's, so you can see 795 likes. Sarah Alf Alphagi. Sorry, I'm butchering your name. Sarah here says, "Psst, are you a female/non-binary artist? Do you like drawing mechs? Do you have examples of sequential work? Hit me up and recommend your friends."
Thanks, the Foofinator.
Right. What's interesting is Max Mecha, big robotic suits, for those who don't know, or not just suits, robots in and of themselves. Anyway, scrolling through their art, there's some really good mech art in there. But they spend all of their time talking about that. What is with this? Are you a female/non-binary artist? And this thread becomes about that. I appreciate what you're doing, but please do not lump women and non-binary people together.
Oh, I was just about to comment on that too. Damn it.
Especially with a slash, which connotates an even closer grouping. Unintentional as it may be, it tends to give the impression non-binary people are viewed as, quote, women light. Related to this, someone else says, it's also good to include trans men in their in posts like this. Their experiences are valuable and should not be excluded from calls for diversity. Somebody else gets involved. Definitely. I'd word it as, if you're a non-cis man artist, it's not exclusionary of the majority of people you're looking for then. And then she responds, noted for the future. Thank you for your feedback! !
Ugh.
In this call for artists, I believe that we're specifically looking for folks who identify comfortably as femme. I should have took the extra minute to clarify. Thanks for listening. I think women and femmes would have been a better word choice then, as not all non-binary people, like myself, are femme. Smiley face. Are you people going to talk about your mech art or not?
No, Polly, you got to establish the ground rules first.
With this sort of thing, I'm shocked. Okay, I am shocked. There have not been more white dudes that haven't gone out and lit themselves on fire like a Buddhist monk.
Right? No, see,
People are fucking retarded and they're lunatics.
Oh, yeah, they're completely crazy. You know, if you really wanted to troll this lady, though, and you'd seen this when it first went up, you could have said, please do not combine female with non-binary by using a slash, because a slash is the penis of the keyboard.
It's wild. The rabbit hole I fell down from Jack initially sending me that article about board game decolonization. I guess it's like, well, who is the person who wrote this? Oh, well, what do they spend their time doing? Let me just scroll down. Jesus Christ, this is what you spend your time doing. My God, all of them. Like, and so I'm telling Far, who's an artist, about this. And an interesting thing popped. She said something that was really interesting. She goes, Polly, what you should kind of grasp here is you might have liked their mech art and thought it was very good, and you're kind of blown away that they're not talking about their actually good mech art. This is how you signal to begin with. Like you kind of said, Jack, that you're part of this crowd. There are so many people like this in the artistic community, in the writing community, that you need to be signal that you're cool, which is why
it's
the pronouns come up in the bios to begin conversations before they even start with, I'm not one of those filthy mega bastards or whatever along those lines.
It's the secret society handshake of the modern era. You are part of the cool kids club. You're part of the collective. You're part of the cult. By knowing the secret handshakes, the right words to say to signal to other people that you are a part of the group, and then you're testing them to see if they are too. A lot of secret societies do this. Even Scientology kind of does this. You create your own language, and only the people that are accepted get work then.
And I couldn't freak signaling. Faithless says, well, yeah. I couldn't help but think back to the kind of, I guess, social club that is described by pros that used to work in the industry and like kind of can't get work anymore. And it's like, I'm described as blackballed. And it's like, oh, really? Show me the list where you've been blackballed. And it's like, it doesn't really work like that. It works that you're not saying the right things, or more to the point, you're not disagreeing with the right things. You know, exactly. Do you spend your time saying these things and doing these things? It's not enough to be silent. So goes the claim about Trump or social justice or whatever other issue. You need to be vocally against the thing or for the thing. And like I said, Far's own experience all the way in Australia was like, yeah, a lot of artists are this way. And, you know, there's so many of them there that you kind of need to go along these lines. And I suddenly felt very naive where it's like, but what about your cool mech drawings? You know, like, because they were cool.
It's not about that. It's not about that at all.
The art is secondary. Hence, look at the comic art to tie this back to the theme of the show. The comic book artists that are getting work now probably all have the right politics. They have the right mentality. They say the right things on Tumblr and other social media. And the actual ability of them is almost last on the list of things you're looking at.
Yeah.
Get ready for the future, kids. It's going to be a wacky ride.
I keep telling myself that it's okay because these people are in the vast minority, but seeing that kind of thing, it's hard to say that it's not disheartening.
Yeah, well, they're in the minority right now, maybe, but these are going to be the people that are influential to the generation below them, because everybody looks up to their older siblings or whatever, and they're going to be future teachers, educators in general. People that have influence in positions of power, and they're going to be able to destroy things. And we've seen them destroy entire careers. So it's a dark future. I mean, this is new speak. It's crazy.
You know, as funny as it is, I think calling it out, recognizing it, seeing that it's going on, it has the passion that these people display for this stuff, like those who are true believers display for it. Passion cannot ride out forever because it is required that you have a foil to aim your passions at. You're
fight,
wrong.
yeah.
You know, and if you don't have that, and it gets tiring, it's like, we are eventually going to win. Yeah. The hippies trying to run off to communes thought the same thing, and a million other movements of those varieties. Comicsgate will not last forever. It's a movement of rejection and passion. Of course it's not going to last forever. Passions subside and go on to other things, and it's a reaction against something. Comicsgate is reactionary. People say, you're just a bunch of reactionary people. Yeah, what's your point? I mean, my point being is that this stuff is not going to last forever. I can only get so black-pilled on it. I guess in my heart of hearts, I've got a lot of optimism that kind of extremity of belief will not become the norm, because that's just too plain weird. Extremity by definition is not the norm, and normalizing extremities can only go so far.
Hey, I will have you know, I like my arms right where they are. Thank you very much. My extremities don't need to go anywhere.
Collapsitarian now. Woo! The apocalypse, that's when I'll shine.
I'll say this for all of what you just said there, Polly. People need to stick to their convictions. All right. It reminds me of something that was brought up a little while ago. Netflix came out on Twitter talking about how they want to abolish the term chick flick, how they want to get rid of the term chick flick. Okay. Now here's a little bit of lore. I used to work for Netflix, guys. I actually used to work for Netflix. I got laid off from Netflix.
He was a white, straight male, and they couldn't take it.
I attribute it to a terminal case of upper management. And this is exactly the same sort of thing, right? The circumstances that came about by my getting laid off from Netflix was the fact that they tried a whole bunch of things, including separating out the disc and the stream rental service. So it used to be $7.99 a month, right? And you got 2 discs in the mail and access to all of their streaming. Then they separated it out so that the discs and the streaming were 2 entirely different services. And if you wanted both the way that it used to be, you had to pay double the cost. It pissed a lot of people off. Netflix's stocks tanked. I mean, we're talking, it was visible in the amount of money they were losing. Okay. Then Netflix got the bright idea to distance themselves from the controversy by rebranding not retracting, this decision, but rebranding the disc rental service into what was called Flixster. As soon as they sent out that announcement, they saw an even bigger backlash, and they had to issue another email to retract the idea and scrap all of the material that they had spent on making all of the Flixster merchandise. Okay, I actually do still have a Flixster hat. All right. This is a company that never took off because of the massive backlash from Netflix. Here's the thing, okay? Hold true to your convictions. It doesn't matter if we're sitting here talking about it's a reactionary movement or any of that kind of stuff, all right? Because yes, comicsgate is a reactionary movement, okay? But it doesn't mean shit if you go back to buying Gwenpool tomorrow. Just stop buying their books. Stop going back to Netflix. Stop it. That's the only way they'll realize that they have fucked up. Stop it.
There you go. And on that black pilled note, it's, I think we should go over to pitches.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, let's wrap this motherfucker up. So, who'd like to go first?
Let's find out if I can screen share.
If not, I've got mine lock, stock, and smoking barrel. I can go.
All right. Why don't you go ahead, since my Chrome is frozen, and I'll wait to see if it unfreezes, or I'll have to rejoin. Shoot.
Oh no! All
Yeah.
right. Well, mine is written by. Hold on. Let me make sure I'm getting it right. Written by Dennis O'Neill. Art by Tom. What's his name? Tom Artis and Tom Zon? DZON. I think that's how it's pronounced. Anyway, my pitch is Green Arrow Annual number 1. This is actually part 2 of the Fables series. It's actually really interesting. It's part 1 is actually in the Detective Comics Annual for 1988. Part 2 is in Green Arrow, and part 3 is in The Question, 1988. And it has to deal with all 3 of those characters, and then it culminates in its own prestige format book, talking about this lesson that Batman, Green Arrow, and The Question all have to learn from this sort of guru that helps them out. But this is the Mike Grell sort of period of Green Arrow. So you've got Black Canary down here with her black hair instead of blonde. And this is when Green Arrow and Black Canary had moved to Seattle. And it's really interesting because it's the story of Oliver, who gets shaken to his core when this rival archer shows up in Seattle to challenge him to a duel. And when Oliver doesn't accept, the rival archer starts going around murdering people. And Oliver can't help but feel like he is the cause of these murders. Like, there's a sequence here. The first victim is this police officer here, shot through the neck with the arrow. And then when Oliver is sitting here dreaming one night, he fires off an arrow, sees it goes down in the distance, and sees the murdered officer in his dream. So he's racked with guilt about all of these murders that are taking place simply because he's not accepting the challenge of this archer. And I won't spoil all the rest of it because it does lead into 2 other comics, but suffice it to say, it's a really good story of how Oliver ends up questioning his own sort of center, his own the impact that he's having for his decisions, and the fact that innocent people are being murdered simply because he's not doing something. So he has to find a different way to take down this perpetrator. I highly recommend it. The whole Fables series is really good, but I like this Green Arrow one in particular.
Nice. All right. What we are going to do is listen to me talk while I'm saving Jack's images because I'm assuming that he can't present.
I'm going to try and screen share it. Let me do it for a hot second.
No. All right.
All right.
Oh my God, it worked.
Yay. I'm a big
Awesome.
boy. I am recommending Buffy the Vampire Slayer issue 4. Now, this is kind of an atypical recommendation because everybody talks like they do on the show. And that kind of irritates the hell out of me for some reason. But this was actually a pretty interesting reboot of the series. And I've been enjoying it quite a bit, actually. And it's just been fun. The art's pretty solid. The women have boobs. They look like they're characters from the show. And you see these kids going through their regular motions that you saw on the show originally. But they've updated it. Now the Scoobies actually do some training with Buffy. They have cell phones. And they're reintroducing the characters. So if you don't want to go back and watch the old TV show because it's very dated at this point, you can jump in here and they're reintroducing everyone. You got Drusilla. They're beating the crap out of Xander in this one. You got Spike. It's been a shockingly well-done book. It's handled fairly maturely. They do things like texting. It's just a nice new perspective on the show. And if you liked Buffy back in the day, there's something here for you. And if you want to dive in, but you don't want to look at stuff your parents watched, you can see the new version of it. So if you're a Buffy fan or a Whedon fan, you'll get something out of it. It's written by Jordi Belair, who's actually not a bad writer.
Nice.
So that's my pitch.
Cool. All right. I have to wrap things up very quickly here. So watch me do a ultra pitch.
Peter said Buffy's hot. Okay, now I'm out.
Yeah, I know. He says he's got to leave. Then he hears Buffy and he's back. My pitch for today is Symbiote Spider-Man #1.
Nice.
This comic is surprisingly hated on when it's not actually that bad. Peter David is the writer. Greg Land, of all people's the penciler. Greg Land, the porn guy. He's got that reputation anyway.
That's why I like Greg Land, though.
Yeah, I know. And BG's like 30 minutes later. No, this is actually going to be a quick pitch. For those of you who recognize the, I thought this was stupid when I first saw it because it's Web of Spider-Man's logo. The web of used to be written in the webbing and then Spider-Man beneath it. And this is Symbiote Spider-Man. When I first saw it, I didn't know what they were doing. It's a 6-issue limited series. Again, written by David and penciled by Land. That is a throwback in time period to when Spider-Man initially had the symbiote suit, but did not know it was a living creature yet. He thought it was just a weirdo alien suit that would obey his mental commands, like it was a mechanical somehow or whatever. But he didn't realize it was a living being. He originally got it on Battle World in Secret Wars 2.
8.
What?
Secret Wars 8.
It wasn't the original. It wasn't Secret Wars 2. It was the original Secret Wars.
It was original Secret Wars issue 8.
No, I thought it was Secret Wars 2. Okay, Anyway. So he gets it in Secret Wars 1, 8.
Secret Wars 1, issue 8.
Yes. In any case, he's not under an understanding until Reed Richards informs him that it's a symbiote. This story takes place in that time period, and here he is fighting Mysterio, of all things. And I think it's because whatchamacallit is getting ready to come out, Spider-Man Far From Home, that features Mysterio as the villain. I think that's why they included him. But I don't care. Mysterio's an awesome character, so why the hell not? And there he is. There's Peter Parker in his suit. So it's a throwback to Peter Parker's earlier days. It's an untold story. It's not bad. It's pretty good. There was no time when Mysterio fought against Spider-Man at that time. If you go back to Amazing and it was largely being told out in Amazing, the story of when he had his the alien suit on. It was long before Venom and so forth. I am all for this. I think this is a great idea. Why
Yeah.
not tell previous period stories? Like, here's high school Spider-Man. Instead of rebooting the entire universe of Spider-Man, why not just be like high school Spider-Man? If you want to tell stories of when he was a freshman in college, why not just tell them? Run the series. This is Spider-Man as a young man, or still as a high school student, or whatever the fuck. I'm like, why haven't you done this before?
Yeah, it works for DC. I mean,
Right?
Elseworlds. How many fucking Batman stories have absolutely no basis in the continuity, and they're fucking great.
Yeah, most of the entire run of Legends of the Dark Knight.
Yeah,
Because those were all stories that happened when he was younger. Well, most of them.
Mhm.
So here is Spider-Man at that time. He hasn't married Mary Jane yet, and he's dealing with the things that he's dealing. The art's okay. It plays itself out, and I don't want to spoil it. I want you guys to go read it. I have heard some people get pretty harsh on it, and I'm like, what the fuck standard are you holding that this is crap? Because is it the greatest comic I've ever read? No, but it's from an interesting time in Spider-Man's life. He goes up against a classic villain in a fight for fight. I'm going to get all 6 issues. I'm excited by it. So, and I'm excited by the notion of maybe Marvel will do it again. Maybe they might run a series of Spider-Man like this. I think they should run a whole series out of Spider-Man Noir, like him in the 30s. Like Quiz said, DC does it. You don't need to reboot the entire character where every time you tell a story, he has to be this thing now. Period pieces. That's great. Go ahead and do it. It's the first new Spider-Man comic that I've liked in quite some time. So there it is.
I will take this pitch as your surrender. I accept.
Okay.
For our debate about One More Day.
What? How?
Because you're saying that you should just tell a story from back then. You don't need to completely reboot it. All One More Day was a reboot. It was setting up for a reboot.
Hold on there, Slim. I never said that it wasn't. The whole point that I make is J. Michael Straczynski is unfairly hated on because he was given an unavoidable editorial mandate to reboot the whole series, and the means by which he did it was actually clever as fuck. I've maintained that from day one.
I have never said that I blame Straczynski for One More Day. I've never said that. I've always blamed Quesada.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But One More Day is a terrible book.
No, it's brilliant. It's heart tugging.
You want to see 1930 stories starring Spider-Gwen?
That is enough is enough. We're done for we're done for this week.
Yeah, Gunsky came up with that, and it's brilliant. I like it.
Yes.
Yes. So there it is. Final thoughts. Everybody who's listening in the future and those of you who are listening right now, if you haven't already, please like if you enjoyed it. It actually does help. More subs are coming in, and I can't tell you how happy we all are about that. Thank you to everyone who's subbed so far. If you enjoy the content, by all means, recommend to your friends. Leave comments below. I get to read all of them. Jack and Quiz stop by, which they're doing more often now, which is awesome, and responding to comments and such as well. So we get to read all of them, and we get a chance to respond to most of them. So tell us what you think, what you don't like, etc., and what you'd like to see. And of course, coming up soon are my own comic book reviews, which are going to be lifted off of Jack style really fast. Fuck the 10-minute way of tickling the algorithm that your video's got to be 10 minutes long. If I don't have 10 minutes of material, I'm not going to go on for 10 minutes. And on that note, I'm going to stop talking. So thanks for coming, everybody. Jack, Quiz, final thoughts.
Buy comics you like. Don't hate purchase books. It just pads their numbers and gives them the false impression that they're selling stuff that people like.
I'll just reiterate, hold true to your convictions. If you hate the way things are going, vote with your wallet and stick to that conviction. Don't ever let up. Don't do it, because they'll learn nothing.
Yeah. And I realize I said I was done talking, but it's like, people say like, you can't support the big two. And some people say that. And Tugg is one of the people who says that. And I respectfully disagree with him because I end up saying, hey, you want to still support your local comic book shop? You still like Marvel characters? There are decades worth of great collected editions that are used. You're not giving any money to Marvel. You're still enjoying the characters that you like, and you're still supporting your local comic book shop. Used collected editions, my friends. It's a great way to still enjoy the medium until this bullshit is over with, you know?
Yeah, and the True Believers line, they're only $1 each. They've reprinted the entire Infinity Gauntlet with different covers.
Yeah.
For $1 each. So you get some great classic stuff for $1.
Jesus Christ, I didn't even know that. I thought you were talking about a new collected edition. I pitched Infinity Gauntlet, Gwenfinity Gauntlet last week. And for $1 each, fuck yeah, you should get it. Fantastic story.
They just changed the covers.
Ah, yeah.
But you
Get
can
in
find
on
them
that,
all
guys. Jesus. If I didn't own the originals, I'd buy it myself. Gee. So there it is. Until next week, ladies and gentlemen, have a good night.
Bye.
Night, everyone.